Chapter 49. Then why do you always appear by his side? Don't you want to attract his attention? She wasn't a 3-year-old child and didn't believe her at all. That's because I have my difficulties. What difficulties? It was really difficult to talk about borrowing seeds, especially in front of someone who looked down on you. It was even more difficult. However, she was his fiancée. If she could agree and help him persuade Bailey Han, wouldn't things take a turn for the better? Although she knew that it was an extravagant hope, Xia Dong didn't care so much. She slowly said, "My daughter has a very serious illness and needs a cord blood transplant. So, I want to ask Mr. Bailey to donate sperm to me. After I give birth to the child, I'll use the child's cord blood to save my daughter." Clap clap. Su Yunqian clapped her hands. "Miss Xia, I really admire you. How did you come up with such a lame excuse? I think you want to use Han's sperm as an excuse to get pregnant with his child and then marry into a rich family." Xia Dong shook her head and wanted to explain, but a cold and emotionless voice interrupted her. "So this is your purpose, Miss Xia. You're so scheming. Tonight's good show was also set up by you for me, right?" "No, it's not like that. Please believe me. If I didn't have to, I wouldn't have come back to disturb you. You don't have to say any more. I won't believe a word you say." Bailey Han considerately put his arm around Su Yunqian's slender waist and looked at her gently. "Yunqian, if you still want to stay here, I can accompany you." Su Yunqian looked at him and smiled gently. "There's no need. I prefer to spend our time alone." He returned a gentle smile. They only had eyes for each other and didn't look at Xia Dong again. They walked leisurely towards the stairs. Bailey Yun and Xiao Tianxing came back from dancing with their female partners. When they saw that they were about to leave, Bailey Yun smiled and said, "Brother, since you're already here, why don't you stay for a while before you leave? How about dancing with my future sister-in-law?" The term, sister-in-law, made Su Yunqian's smile brighten and she snuggled closer to Bailey Han. Bailey Han naturally felt her intimacy and very cooperatively held her tighter. He replied faintly, "No, your sister-in-law isn't used to this place. We'll leave first." "Sir, madam, this is the fruit wine we've specially prepared for our distinguished guest tonight. The alcohol content is very low and suitable for ladies and guests who can't hold their liquor. Would you like a glass?" A handsome waiter appeared beside them with a tray. Xiao Tianxing glanced at the tray. The transparent crystal glasses were filled with pale yellow liquid and a pale red cherry blossom bloomed on the rim of the glass. It looked beautiful and delicious. He casually picked up a glass and said with a smile, "Since you're here, let's have a drink before we leave. We haven't had a drink together for a long time." "Yes, brother. Anyway, you have a driver to pick you up. You don't have to worry about getting drunk." Bailey Yun also picked up a glass. Bailey Han glanced at Su Yunqian and asked for her opinion. When he saw her nod with a smile, he picked up 2 glasses and handed one to her. The 4 glasses clinked together and made a crisp sound. Looking at the pale yellow liquid flowing down the throats of the 4 people, a small figure hiding in the dark covered his mouth and laughed silently. "Young Master Bao, the matter you ordered has been done." The handsome waiter came to the place where the small figure was hiding and bowed respectfully. "Yes, you did well. Don't worry, I will tell Uncle Shen that you did very well." The figure hiding in the dark walked to the light. His handsome face was serious and his hands were behind his back. "Keep an eye on them. When they faint, carry Bailey Yun, Xiao Tianxing, and that woman off the yacht. As for Bailey Han, get him to the room that has been prepared." "Yes, young Master Bao." The waiter bowed again and did as Xia Xiaobao instructed. His purpose of coming to China was to protect Miss and her children. He would carry out their orders without hesitation. The drugs in the wine were strong sleeping pills. After drinking the wine, Bailey Han and the other 3 people felt dizzy after taking 2 steps. They quickly sat down with the help of chairs. Xiao Tianxing muttered, "Why do I feel dizzy? Am I drunk?" Bailey Yun also saw many shadows in front of him. He seemed to see Xia Dong walking in his direction. He shook his head and wanted to see more carefully, but his head became even dizzier. Plop, he fell on the table. "Han, I feel dizzy." Su Yunqian leaned on Bailey Han's shoulder softly and gradually lost consciousness. Yunqian, Yunqian. Bailey Han tried his best to stay awake and shook the person in his arms. He was sharp enough to sense that something was wrong. In the end, his cold gaze landed on the wine glass. Could it be that there was something wrong with the wine? What's wrong with you? Xia Dong had just exchanged a few words with the other guests and walked around casually. She found Bailey Han and the other three sitting around a table. They didn't seem to be in good spirits. When she got closer, other than Bailey Han, the other three were already lying on their stomachs motionless. Bailey Han resisted the strong sleepiness and cast his cold eyes on Xia Dong. What did you put in the wine? His voice sounded weak. What's the matter? Why is there something in the wine? Xia Dong was confused. She picked up the wine glass on the table and checked it. Pretend. Bailey Han fell on the table with a plop. Hey, what's wrong with you? Xia Dong hurriedly pushed him, but he didn't respond at all. God, was he dead? She hurriedly put her finger under his nose. It was warm. Thank goodness, thank goodness. She put her finger to the noses of the other three people. They were still breathing. She was scared to death. Fortunately, this place was near the exit and there were fewer people. No one noticed it. Otherwise, it would be troublesome if there was a panic. But what was wrong with them? A handsome waiter suddenly appeared and bowed respectfully. Miss, Master Bao is looking for you. He's in room 101. Please go there. But they're just drunk. Miss, don't worry. I'll send them to their respective cars. Oh. Xia Dong blinked. She still felt that something was wrong. She pointed to the empty wine glass. The wine, that's a cocktail with a high alcohol content. Miss, Master Bao is waiting for you. Okay. Jiang Dao, thank you for your hard work. Xia Dong was very satisfied with the man sent by Mika Kito to protect her. After Xia Dong left, Jiang Dao waved his hand and several men dressed as waiters gathered around him. Send these people off the boat. As for him, send him to room 102. The men bent down and each of them carried a person and left. When Xia Dong walked to room 101, her precious son was telling her precious daughter a fairy tale. The two little guys were lying on their stomachs, their little feet bouncing up and down. Her daughter giggled from time to time. Her heart was filled with tenderness. She quietly closed the door and walked behind the two little Bao. She hugged one in each hand and tickled their waist. She deliberately asked in a hoarse voice, "Guess who I am?" Grandmother Wolf. Her daughter smiled and jumped into her arms. Oh, Grandmother Wolf wants to eat delicious little guai. She deliberately stuck out her tongue to scare her. Brother, save me. Grandmother Wolf is so scary. Gigai, don't be afraid. Brother will protect you. The three of them laughed together and the whole room was filled with a warm atmosphere. The children were tired from playing and leaned into her arms. She pinched Xiao Bao's soft cheeks. Xiao Bao, Jiang Dao said you were looking for me. What's the matter? Xiao Bao looked up at her, his bright eyes flashing with a sly light. Mom, I want to give you a present. You can go to room 102 to accept it now. What's the matter? Why are you being so mysterious? You'll know when you get there. Xiao Bao pushed her. Go quickly. Gigai and I are going to sleep. Okay. Good night, Mommy. Xiao Guai kissed her cheek. What were these two children up to? Why were they being so mysterious? Xia Dong muttered as she opened the door to room 102. She turned on the light. The room was beautifully decorated. It was warm and elegant. There was a huge bed with a soft mattress and a layer of rose petals. The incense lamp at the bedside gave off a mesmerizing fragrance. But that was not the most important thing. The most important thing was that there was a man lying on the bed. The most important thing was that this man was Bailey Han, and he was Bailey Han in a bathrobe. Xia Dong froze on the spot. At this moment, two choices appeared in her mind. 1. Eat the drunk Bailey Han. 2. Let him go and run away. Should she choose 1 or 2? Because of excitement and nervousness, she clenched her fists tightly. 1 or 2? No. Why was Bailey Han here? Didn't Jiang Dao say that he would send him off the boat? Xia Dong, who was in a dilemma, suddenly remembered that she had another choice. She had to figure out what was going on. But damn it, the door was locked from the outside. She couldn't open it at all. "Xia Xiaobao, is this your doing?" Xia Dong shouted angrily as she kicked the door. "That's right. Your progress is too slow. I can't stand it anymore. Mom, I support you to jump on him." Xia Xiaobao was wearing Garfield pajamas and cute bunny ear slippers. He crossed his arms coolly as he spoke to his flustered and exasperated mother through the door. Xia Dong wanted to explode. Why did she have to have such a genius son? But he was already engaged. If they had sex again, wouldn't it cause him to have an affair? This was also the reason why she had been trying to persuade him to donate his sperm. As if he knew what she was thinking, Xia Xiaobao's arrogant voice sounded again. "Mom, don't be so naive to think that he will donate his sperm to you. I heard your conversation just now. He doesn't believe you at all. Also, that woman called Su Yunqian is also very annoying. That annoying woman dared to slander his mother. She was too hateful. He wanted to help his mother seduce Bailey Han and teach her a lesson. Yes, Xiaobao was right. Bailey Han didn't believe her at all. Could she really convince him? How long would it take to convince him? Could Xiao Guai wait until then? Xiaobao's voice continued to tempt her. "If you miss this opportunity, you won't get another one. Mom, Bailey Han has already noticed that there's something wrong with the wine. If you don't do it now, you won't have another chance when he wakes up. With his personality, when he wakes up tomorrow, he will definitely take revenge. In the future, don't even talk about convincing him to donate his sperm. Even if you get within 3 miles of him, he will send you flying." Beauty novel, Xinwu 799. Chapter 50. Mom, don't blame your son for not reminding you. Although the strong sleeping pills are powerful, they can only last for an hour. You only have an hour to consider. Oh, right, let me remind you again. Half an hour has passed. Xia Dong sighed. All right, you don't have to say any more. Go back to your room and sleep. There was no more sound outside the door. It seemed that her son had returned to his room. She looked at her watch. Just as she was hesitating, another 10 minutes had passed. She walked to the bed step by step. Under the warm light, his facial features were gentler than usual. His facial features were really good-looking. He had deep eye sockets, a high nose bridge, and sexy thin lips. He looked so attractive. But at this moment, she didn't feel any pleasure from admiring his beauty. She was in pain. Tears gathered in her eyes. Her hand fell on his face, and she rubbed it gently. "I'm sorry, I have no choice. In order to save our daughter, let me do it again." She gently undid the belt of his bathrobe, and his strong body entered her line of sight. Memories from 5 years ago suddenly surfaced in her mind, and her face instantly turned red. Although she had even given birth to a child, the heavens could testify that she only had that one experience. She had only seen a man's naked body before. Other than Xiaobao's. "Don't worry, I'll be very gentle." She was so embarrassed that she didn't dare to look directly at him. She simply closed her eyes and repeated the experience from 5 years ago. His lips had a faint scent of wine. It was a little hot and a little soft. She kissed him attentively. Her gentleness was like a feather sweeping across his brow and stopping on his forehead. She was nervous and careful as if she was kissing a precious treasure. A hazy feeling came up, and she instinctively grabbed the part of him that was screaming for her attention. With just a gentle movement, the person in his sleep seemed to have sensed something. He couldn't help but straighten his beautiful neck and moan as if he was dying. His expression of pain and comfort intertwined chaotically. "Yun Qian." His voice was hoarse and full of lust. It gave her a shock, and she thought that he had woken up. Fortunately, the person below her only cried out once and didn't make another sound. She relaxed again and continued what she was doing. That part of his body became even hotter and harder in her hands. Feeling the pulsating pulse and the eruption of his body, Xia Dong's mind suddenly went blank and his body suddenly stiffened. She suddenly felt a sense of fear. She did not dare to continue. Just as she was about to retreat, he suddenly turned over and flipped her over onto the bed. He couldn't wait to kiss her. He couldn't wait to caress her soft body. His fingers kneaded vigorously. Her full lips moved, making him unable to resist tasting them carefully. Her small tongue that escaped in a panic was also so cute. Her heartbeat almost rushed out of her chest, and she was almost lost in this deeper and deeper kiss. His fiery heat pressed against her mysterious fragrant garden, and his attack was imminent. Hiss! The pain made him suddenly wake up. He jerked his body away and covered his bleeding lips. His eyes, which had just regained consciousness, flashed with a brief moment of confusion. Suddenly, it turned into a cold and gloomy light that tightly locked onto the little woman below him. "Woman, I've finally caught you. This is your goal, HM?" His gaze was so scary as if it was going to tear her apart. His voice was as gloomy and dangerous as if it came from hell. His palms pinched her slender neck, and he gradually increased his strength. It was as if he used any more strength, it would break with a crack. His eyes flashed with a bloodthirsty light, and he said word by word, "Tell me, how should I punish you?" It was so uncomfortable. She couldn't make a sound, and the air in her throat disappeared bit by bit. She was like a drowning fish, opening her mouth and breathing hard. Her eyes overflowed with tears because of the discomfort, and she blinked her eyes pleadingly. He loosened his grip a little. "What else do you want to say?" Cough, please don't kill me." Her eyelashes were filled with tears, and she looked pitiful. However, he wasn't a philanthropist. He didn't want to keep a woman like this who had such evil intentions and would cause more trouble. He increased the strength in his hands again, and she used her hands to grope around the bed. "Ah!" She let out a painful scream. At the same time, her hand grabbed a pillow. She used all her strength and threw the pillow at his head. He was caught off guard, and reflexively used his right arm to block it. His other arm was still firmly pressing her down on the bed. She finally sucked in some fresh air, and as she sucked in hard, she raised her right foot and kicked his head. She had learned some martial arts from Mika Kito and her foster father, and now it came in handy. Good skills. Bailey Han grabbed the pillow and threw it aside. He nimbly jumped off the bed and dodged her heavy blow. His thumb slowly touched his injured lips, and his eyes were cold. "If you tell me who ordered you to do this, I might consider letting you go." This woman's skills were swift and deadly. He no longer believed that she simply wanted to seduce him. Perhaps she was a spy sent by his opponent. Xia Dong's brain worked quickly, and she quickly came up with an idea. "If I tell you who is behind this, will you really let me go?" "Of course, I, Bailey Han, am a man of my word." He looked proud. He didn't need to play dirty with her. Even if she was lucky enough to escape this time, she wouldn't be able to escape City A. Her serious expression suddenly turned sad, and there were even tears in her eyes. "You're right. They kidnapped my family and threatened me to get close to you. If I didn't complete the mission, they would kill my family." "Who are they?" "The Dark Knight. The godfather of the Italian mafia, Tomac, founded the largest arms organization in the world." Bailey Han raised his eyebrows and sneered. "If you want to frame someone, you have to find a suitable target. Do you think the Dark Knight will send an idiot like you to be a spy?" Xia Dong's face darkened. The next moment, a warm body pressed against her. Bailey Han's low voice sounded like a demon in her ear. "I knew you wouldn't be honest." Xia Dong gritted her teeth and suddenly turned around to hug him. "If I said that what I said to Miss Su on the deck was not a lie, and that I approached you to save my daughter, would you believe me?" The moment she hugged him, his body stiffened. He hated it when others touched him, but at that moment, his body didn't hate her. "Do you think I'm a 3-year-old child who will believe your nonsense?" He grabbed her arm and tried to push her away. She hugged him tightly as if she had gone crazy. "Don't, Bailey Han. I beg you, don't be angry anymore. Don't play the I don't know you game with me. Help me. Help me for the last time, okay?" Her soft breasts pressed against his chest, and the beautiful touch made him feel like he had been electrocuted. He gritted his teeth and suppressed the restlessness in his body. There was great displeasure in his voice. "I don't have time to play games with you, and I don't have time to accompany you in this boring conversation." His hand fell on her throat again. She turned around to dodge, but he didn't stop attacking. In the blink of an eye, the two of them had exchanged more than 10 moves. With her current skills, it was no problem for her to deal with an ordinary opponent, but she was facing the powerful Bailey Han, and soon she was at a disadvantage. Bailey Han, you can kill me, but do you want your son to bear the title of the son of a murderer? Xia Dong couldn't bear it anymore and shouted. You've done your homework. You even know that I have a son. In order to protect his son's safety, he had never announced his relationship with Xiao Yi to the public. As the future head of the Bailey family, he must accept the dark reality. You're crazy. You're not qualified to be a father at all. Her face turned pale. I regret it so much. Back then what? He pinched her chin. Why don't you continue talking? No, she couldn't say it. She couldn't open up the scars again. She gritted her teeth and glared at him. It's none of your business. Very well, I don't want to continue talking to you. He had lost all his patience. His slender fingers caressed her fragile bones. Her delicate skin was like fine silk, and he actually felt a little regretful. Xia Dong was helpless. She told him the truth, but he didn't believe her. She begged him, but he still didn't want to remember her. She still wanted to save her daughter. She didn't want to die by his hands. She made up her mind. As he exerted force, she tiptoed and kissed his lips. She nibbled on his lips like a madwoman, her hands moving up and down his body without any rhyme or reason. She felt the hand on her throat slowly slide down to her back, even subconsciously caressing it. She bit his earlobe and whispered like a lover, Bailey Han, I love you. This is my purpose for getting close to you. His Adam's apple moved uncontrollably. His lips moved as if he wanted to say something. She kissed him fiercely and blocked his words. The smell of incense in the air became stronger. The two of them hugged each other. Their body temperature rose, and there was an unknown throbbing in their hearts. Bailey Han was frustrated. He actually felt something when this woman forced a kiss on him. The burning part of him was awakened again. His heart was filled with emptiness. He had an impulse to fiercely press down on this woman in front of him. Xia Dong also felt that emptiness. She wanted to scold him. She had only forced a kiss on him. Why did he feel so impatient? They didn't know that the problem lay in the incense lamp at the bedside. Xia Xiaobao had put in the incense lamp. This kind of herb had an aphrodisiac effect, but it needed to be smelled for more than an hour to take effect. Now, the incense was beginning to show its effect. We can't continue like this. Bailey Han pushed away the woman who was hanging on him like a koala bear. His hoarse voice was filled with lust. At this time, both of their clothes had been taken off and thrown messily on the ground. Their bodies were also bruised and disheveled. He awkwardly pulled a thin blanket to cover his lower body. He tried to calm down. His body was very uncomfortable and he urgently needed relief. He no longer had the mood to care about Xia Dong. He rushed into the bathroom and took a cold shower. Xia Dong didn't expect that she would have such strong lust. Her whole body felt like it was on fire. She was ashamed and uncomfortable. She trembled as she picked up her clothes and put them on one by one. Listening to the sound of water in the bathroom, his strong body uncontrollably appeared in her mind. God, this is too embarrassing. She hugged her head and buried herself in the blanket. She curled up into a ball and trembled because of the discomfort. Welfare, Xinwu 799. Chapter 51. Bailey Han showered for half an hour. It was still very uncomfortable, but he was barely able to control it. When he returned to the bedroom, Xia Dong's face was already red from the fever. Her delicate eyebrows were tightly knitted together, and she bit her lips with her pearly white teeth, trying her best not to moan. He didn't know when the thought of getting rid of her had disappeared from his heart. Seeing how uncomfortable she was at this moment, his brows furrowed. He suddenly bent down and carried her in his arms, taking large strides towards the bathroom. It was clearly her fault. Why did he still want to save her? He was simply crazy. Bailey Han was filled with anger and complicated emotions. He roughly threw her into the bathtub, picked up the shower head, and fiercely washed her body. Sob sob, it's so uncomfortable. She uneasily twisted in the bathtub. Her clothes were drenched and wrapped around her body, revealing her beautiful curves. He forced himself to look away, but damn it, she actually grabbed his leg. Her frighteningly hot face rubbed against his exposed calf, and she even restlessly rubbed against it. Woman, you better behave. He forcefully pulled her away, and his eyes were almost bursting with sparks. Save me, save me. She suddenly pounced forward and hugged his neck. Her misty eyes were unfocused and filled with tears, looking incomparably seductive. The fire that was forcefully suppressed in his body flared up again. He took a deep breath. You asked for it. He suddenly raised his hand and hit the back of her head. She moaned and softly fell into his arms. The dazzling sunlight shone in through the window. Xia Dong painfully furrowed her brows, turned over, and suddenly sat up. Her head hurt, and her body was very hot. She seemed to have a fever. She opened her eyes wide and looked around. This was still the room on the yacht. The memories slowly replayed. Scary, exciting. In the end, she cried out and hugged her head. God, I actually did such a thing. I don't have the face to live anymore. I agree with your point of view. Every breath you exhale is polluting this beautiful world. A cold voice came from the side. Her body stiffened, and then she slowly turned around and squeezed out an ugly smile. Good morning. Bailey Han slowly got up and elegantly tidied his clothes. If you've rested enough, please tell me why we're in this situation now. With that, he suddenly opened the curtains, and even more dazzling sunlight shone in. Xia Dong uncomfortably closed her eyes, and when she opened them again, the mouth opened in disbelief. Xia Dong couldn't believe her eyes. She jumped off the bed barefooted and excitedly ran to the window. She wasn't mistaken. In front of her was a beach. On the beach, there was a lot of rotten wood washed by the tide. There were also many animal corpses, including eerie white bones. She rubbed her eyes hard and opened them again. The scene in front of her didn't change at all. To be Robinson Crusoe. She turned and ran to the door, but the door was still locked. No matter how hard she shook the door, she could only hear the clanking of the big iron lock, and there was no sign of it being opened. I advise you not to waste your energy. This door is made of steel. You won't be able to open it. Bailey Han sat on the sofa, coldly watching her jump up and down to look for something to smash the door with. She ignored him, threw away the stool in her hand, and returned to the window. This time, she could see more clearly. It seemed that the yacht was docked at the edge of a deserted island. Behind the beach was a dense forest, and there might even be ferocious beasts. She anxiously took out her phone and dialed her son's number. She wanted to make sure that the two children were fine, but the phone only rang twice. Damn it, there was no signal. She grabbed her hair in frustration. What kind of place was this? There wasn't even a phone signal. She suddenly turned and looked at Bailey Han, who was unbelievably calm. Why are you so calm? Is this your doing? Bailey Han's mouth twitched. Don't compare my psychological endurance with yours. I'll feel that it's an insult to me. It's true that you're stupid. I was brought to this room by you, and I've been here all this time. May I ask, how can I do anything? You can get your subordinates to do something. Maybe you want to get me to this deserted island to kill me and destroy the evidence. If I kill you, I don't have to worry about destroying the evidence. Don't put me on the same level as you. Xia Dong decided to ignore him and find a way out. She had to get out quickly to ensure the safety of the children. She pushed open the glass window and looked at the dark sea below. It was a little high, and she didn't know how to swim. If she jumped down, she would definitely drown. She turned to look at him. Bailey Han, do you know how to swim? He looked at her as if she was an idiot. After you jump into the water, how do you plan to get to the deck? We can use a rope or a bed sheet, he mocked her mercilessly. Congratulations, there's no rope in this room. As for the bed sheet, I think you've watched too many movies. Before she woke up, he had already checked carefully. There was no rope in this room at all. But we can't just sit here and wait for death. We have to think of a way. Xia Dong clenched her fists, her face full of determination. Seeing her rummaging around the room, his cold eyes moved slightly. Cuckoo. Cuckoo. A white thing flew in from the window. It's a pigeon. Xia Dong ran to the window excitedly. The pigeon stopped on the table. She carefully caught it in her hand, but it did not run away. Instead, it used its mouth to rub against the back of her hand. She tentatively touched its leg. There was a small tube tied to it. She opened the tube and poured the contents into her palm. It was a key, and there was also a small white slip of paper. There was only a simple sentence on the note. Mom, don't say that your son didn't help you. Seize the opportunity. Xiao Guai and I are safe. We're waiting for your triumphant return. Her face instantly darkened. She crumpled the note into pieces. She was roaring in her heart. Xia Xiaobao, just you wait. How dare you trick your mom like this? When I get back, I'll definitely teach you a lesson. The key was used to open the door. Bailey Han broke the glass of the window next to the door and tied his arm with a piece of cloth so that he wouldn't be stabbed by the broken glass. He easily opened the heavy iron lock. Clang! The metal chain was thrown to the ground. Xia Dong wanted to rush out, but he stopped her. What's with the key? She looked innocent. I don't know either. Who gave you the note? He asked aggressively. Who's the mastermind behind this? I don't know. There was no name on the note. It only said that the key was used to open the door. I'm also a victim. I don't have to lie to you. She looked sincere. If he believed her, he would really be crazy. She said again, the most important thing now is to leave this place. We have to stay together. We can't have internal strife. He glanced at her coldly. I'll go to the steering room. You see if there's anyone else on the boat. There was no one in the steering room. The fuel gauge showed that all the fuel had been used up, which meant that they couldn't start the yacht. He went to the kitchen and the infirmary. There was still food and fruit in the kitchen, and some conventional medicine in the infirmary. The situation wasn't too bad. All the rooms are empty. There's only the two of us on the boat. Xia Dong looked around. She was a little out of breath. She didn't look too good, and her forehead was covered in cold sweat. The fuel has been used up. We can't leave. Fortunately, there's still food and medicine. I found that the lifeboat is gone too. They probably did it to prevent us from escaping. We have to think of a way to leave as soon as possible. Xia Dong felt very tired. She sat on the chair and held her cheek with one hand. I'm sorry. I feel a little uncomfortable. I'll rest for a while. Bailey Han had already noticed that her face was abnormally red. He bent over and touched her forehead. His hand was covered in sweat. He frowned. You're running a fever. You probably caught a cold. She let out an uncomfortable ugh. His frown deepened. He ordered coldly, lie on the bed. No need. I'll just sit down for a while. Don't make me say it a second time. Xia Dong looked up weakly. His expression was really ugly. All right, she didn't want to make him angry. She got up and walked towards the big bed. After a few steps, she felt dizzy and fell towards the floor. She thought that she would hit her head and bleed, but the pain she imagined didn't happen. She was held by a pair of strong arms around her waist. She heard a deep voice. Idiot. The next moment, she felt her body being lifted. She was picked up by Bailey Han and thrown onto the bed. He really threw her? She frowned uncomfortably. Lie down properly. I'll go find some cold medicine. The sound of his footsteps gradually faded away, and her heavy eyelids closed. In a daze, someone held the back of her head and fed her a few pills. It was so bitter. She wanted to spit it out, but her mouth was roughly pinched. If you don't want to spontaneously combust, swallow the pills for me, Gigai. Damn it. Her body temperature was already so high, but she was still so dishonest. It was so bitter. She frowned and swallowed the pills. Warm water flowed into her mouth. She drank a few mouthfuls greedily and accidentally choked. That person gently pulled her ear and muttered, "You're already so old, but you still choke on water. You're so stupid." A dazed smile appeared on her face. When she was young, her mother would pull her ear and complain that she was too impatient when she choked on food. She carefully put herself into that person's arms and murmured, "Mum." Her soft body lay in his arms. His hand that was holding the glass of water froze. But in the next moment, he heard her voice and his face immediately darkened. How was he emitting a motherly glow? How could he let her call him Mom? Massaging his throbbing temples, he put the glass of water on the bedside and pulled the blanket over her. He wanted to pull his body out of her. She sensed his movements and hugged him tightly. "Mom, don't go." Perhaps it was the expression on her face that was too painful, or perhaps it was the fear in her voice that made him unable to bear it. He actually stopped moving. Gigai sat on the spot and let her use him as a big bolster. Bailey's old residence. "What do you mean you can't contact Ahan? What are all of you doing?" The old madam used her walking stick to poke the floor fiercely and scolded the servants and bodyguards in the hall who were bent over. Awesome novel. Hongcha 866. Chapter 52. Mom, don't worry. The police and the Dragon Gang have already sent people to search everywhere. I think there will be news soon. Bailey Xiong comforted the old lady. The Dragon Gang was the secret dark force of the Bailey family and would not be easily mobilized. This time, they had sent half of their people, which showed the importance of this matter. Don't worry, how can I not worry? An has been missing for 14 hours now. I can't get through to his phone, and no one knows where he went. If he was kidnapped, the kidnappers would have contacted us. No news is the scariest. The old lady's eyes turned red as she spoke. Calm down. Have a cup of ginseng tea. You haven't eaten anything all day. Bai Jinxiu took the ginseng tea from the servant and handed it to her with both hands. No, I can't eat anything right now. The old lady waved her hand and sighed. A small figure walked down the stairs and stood on tiptoe to pick up the ginseng tea, carefully stirring it. Great-grandma, you should eat something. Otherwise, when Daddy comes back and sees that you can't eat because of worry, he will be sad. The old lady touched Bailey Yi's head. Our Xiao Yi has grown up and is sensible. It's just that Grandma has no appetite and can't eat. Great-grandma, if you don't eat, Xiao Yi won't eat today either. Bai Jinxiu quickly struck while the iron was hot and brought the ginseng soup to the old lady. Mom, since Xiao Yi said so, you should eat something. Okay, I'll eat. Xiao Yi also wants to eat in Gigai. Don't let your daddy come back. If he sees that you have become thinner, he will blame me. The old lady sighed as she drank the ginseng soup. A servant hurriedly ran in. Old madam, Miss Su is here. Let her in. The old lady looked at Su Yunqian and asked anxiously, Yunqian, you're finally here. Ahan is missing. Did he contact you last night? When Su Yunqian woke up in the morning, she was already at home. She only remembered that she drank a glass of wine on the yacht and got drunk. She couldn't remember anything else. She rushed over after receiving Bai Jinxiu's call. She didn't expect that the first thing she heard was that Bailey Han was missing. She quickly calmed down and said slowly, Grandma, Ahan and I received an invitation to a party last night. Party? Whose invitation? Where is it held? Her charming eyes flashed with coldness. It's Miss Xia Dong, the editor-in-chief of Glamour magazine. She invited us to a party on the Dream Yacht. Xia Dong? The old madam's body stiffened, and her expression suddenly changed. Her trembling hand knocked over the cup of ginseng soup. With a crash, the ginseng soup spilled on the table and stained her hand. Mom, is your hand okay? Bailey Xiong hurriedly checked her hand. Bai Jinxiu hurriedly asked the servant to bring some ointment for burns. No, I'm fine. The old madam took out a handkerchief to wipe the back of her hand. She waved her hand and asked the nanny to take Bailey Yi away. Xiao Yi, go upstairs and play for a while. Bailey Yi followed the nanny upstairs and secretly remembered the name Xia Dong in his heart. When Su Yunqian said this name just now, everyone's expression changed, especially the great-grandmother, who looked terrible. After making sure that her little great-grandson was far away, the old madam said, Yunqian, the Xia Dong you mentioned just now, is it that woman? Su Yunqian nodded. I've already confirmed it. It's her. The old madam angrily stomped the floor with her cane. Why did she come back? Hasn't she heard Han enough? Su Yunqian calmly lowered her eyes to hide the resentment in her eyes. She said softly, recently, she's always looking for opportunities to appear by Han's side. I think she's regretting it. Regretting it? It's not up to her to regret it now. The old madam angrily slammed the table. As long as I'm alive, she can forget about entering Bailey's house. Bai Jinxiu's expression eased a little. Yunqian, tell me, what happened last night? Why didn't Han come back with you? Su Yunqian showed a serious expression. I remember that last night, Yun, Tianxing, Han and I, the four of us, drank a glass of wine, and then we got drunk. When I finally woke up, I was already in my room. I asked the servant, and the servant said that the driver sent me home. What did the driver say? The driver said that the waiter on the yacht helped me into the car. A guilty and sad expression appeared on her beautiful face. I thought that Han was sent home like me, so I didn't ask. It's not your fault. The old madam comforted her. She called the servant and said, go and contact Yun and Tianxing. Ask them to come to the old mansion to see me. In less than half an hour, Bailey Yun and Xiao Tianxing arrived one after another. The two of them were shocked when they heard that Bailey Han was missing. They recalled what happened last night, and it was exactly as Su Yunqian said. They all woke up in their own rooms, and it was the chauffeur who sent them home. Xiao Tianxing frowned and analyzed. Now that I think about it, our alcohol tolerance shouldn't be so bad. Someone must have put something in the wine. Su Yunqian looked sad. Why were we all sent back, but only Han is missing? Where was he taken? Is he in danger? I regret it so much. I shouldn't have let him drink that glass of wine last night. Bailey Xiong calmly analyzed. The yacht is Xia Dong's, and the party was held by Xia Dong. Could it be that she also drugged us? Then what's her purpose? Bailey Yun's back began to sweat. A bold idea came to his mind, but he quickly rejected it. He didn't believe that Xia Dong would drug the four of them, and he didn't believe that she would kidnap Bailey Han. Bai Jinxiu looked at him mockingly and said meaningfully, it's very simple. She regretted it. She wanted to lure Han into committing a crime and take the opportunity to enter our family again. No, she's not that kind of person. Bailey Yun almost subconsciously retorted. If that's not the case, then how do you explain Han's disappearance? The reason for Big Brother's disappearance hasn't been found yet. You shouldn't jump to conclusions like this. Lowly people like her will only use despicable methods. This is obvious. Why do you still need to make conclusions? Bai Jinxiu's tone was full of sarcasm. Auntie, you're biased. The veins on Bailey Yun's forehead began to throb. He wouldn't allow others to criticize Xia Dong in such a contemptuous tone. He wanted to say something else, but he was interrupted by the old madam's stern shout. All right, let's not quarrel anymore. The most important thing now is to find Han. The old madam's sharp eyes swept over Bailey Yun and finally fell on Bailey Xiong. Xiong, you informed the brothers in the police station about the news we got. In addition, order Bang's men to rush to the bay where the banquet was held last night to search. In addition, find out Xia Dong's whereabouts. Got it, Mom. I'll go now. Her gaze fell on them. As for you, keep the news of Han's disappearance a secret. I'm worried that someone will use this news to attack the Bailey Group and Shenghao Group. Yun, you go to Han's company. Before he comes back, you're responsible for taking care of his affairs. Got it, Grandma. The old madam made a strict deployment and blocked the news of Bailey Han's disappearance. She also secretly communicated with the police station and the Dragon Gang to search for Bailey Han's whereabouts. At the same time, in Xia Dong's house, Xia Xiaobao and Xiao Guai, the two children, finished lunch under the care of the nanny and called Xia Yun again. Grandaunt, I'm Xiaobao. Mommy is temporarily out of town on a business trip and asked us to stay at your place for 2 days. Okay, Grandaunt will come and pick you up. No need, Auntie Nanny will send us there. Xiao Bao and Xiao Guai changed into cute siblings' outfits, carried their own small school bags, put on their sunglasses, and went to Xia Yun's house under the escort of the nanny. Grandaunt, This is the hot spring coupon that mommy reserved for us. Let's go to the hot spring together, okay? Xia Yun loved these two children the most. How could she say no? Moreover, the coupons had already been reserved. Wouldn't it be a waste if they didn't go? So, she followed her husband and took the two children to the hot spring at Misty Villa. When the dragon gang arrived at Xia Yun's house, what awaited them was an empty room, because Xiaobao had already tricked Xia Yun and her husband into going to the hot spring. Xiaobao had reserved the coupons through a public phone, and the ID card used was from Jiangdao, so the dragon gang had no way of finding out where they had gone. At night, Xiaobao lay comfortably on the comfortable bed in the hot spring hotel. He had just turned on his small computer and was about to start working when Xiao Guai came in with a big bear in her arms. Brother, I want to sleep with you. Give me your hand, brother will carry you up. The hotel was very user-friendly. The children's bed was not very high, so Xiaobao easily pulled his sister up. The two children squeezed under the quilt. Xiao Guai came to his small computer and asked, Brother, what are you looking at? Xiaobao closed the computer and put it on the bedside table. He patted her head and said, Nothing, Gigai, are you sleepy? Brother will tell you a fairy tale. I'm not sleepy, brother. Where is mommy? I miss her so much. Xiaobao patted her head again and said, Mommy and uncle are on a date. We can't disturb them. Otherwise, mommy won't give us a little brother or sister. Oh, but I miss her so much. Xiao Guai pouted. She felt wronged. Then do you want a little brother or sister? Yes, then we can't disturb mommy and uncle. Okay, brother will tell Gigai a story, okay? Okay, Xiao Guai said softly. She rested her chin on her hands and looked at her brother without blinking. Once upon a time, there was a little girl. Her name was Snow White. Snore, snore. She finally fell asleep. Xiaobao put his sister's white and soft arms under the quilt and jumped off the bed easily. He hugged his small computer and nestled on the sofa. The computer screen lit up. His small fingers tapped on the keyboard a few times, and a video call popped up. The person on the other side was the handsome waiter on the yacht, Jiang Dao. Young Master Bao, good evening. Yes, good evening. Xiao Bao nodded seriously. Jiang Dao, what's the situation on the yacht? I've already released a carrier pigeon. The door to room 102 has been opened. Bailey Han and Miss checked the situation on the yacht and then returned to room 102. What did they do today? I was too far away, so I couldn't see clearly. They only went out for a while, then stayed in the room and didn't leave. Add, Hongcha 866. Chapter 53. The young man's heart skipped a beat. Could it be that a man and a woman were in the same room, and sparks of love suddenly flew out? Actually, he was thinking too much. He tried hard to suppress his excitement and coughed. You did well. Be careful not to be discovered by them. Understood. Jiang Dao, I don't want a third person to know about this. You understand, especially Uncle Shin. If Uncle Shin knew that he had left his mother and Bailey Han on an isolated island, he would definitely fly over from Japan to spank him. I understand. After ending the video chat, Xiaobao rolled around on the sofa like a puppy, happily playing around. He was a genius. If he banished his mother and Bailey Han to an isolated island, they would definitely be aroused. Oh, of course, he wouldn't be so stupid to leave them on an isolated island. He even asked Jiang Dao to lie in ambush on the island. If they encountered any danger, he could help them in time. Of course, Jiang Dao would also create some trouble for them. After rolling around happily, Xia Xiaobao and Gigai climbed onto the bed and started to sleep. He had no idea that his cute mother was in deep trouble. Xia Dong felt hot all over. Her throat was swollen and painful, and she was thirsty. Her voice was hoarse as she called out, "Water?" In a daze, a strong hand supported the back of her head, and warm liquid slowly flowed into her mouth. After drinking the water, she fell asleep again. She didn't know how long she slept, but when she regained consciousness, it was already evening. Her whole body was wet as if she had been fished out of the water. She moved her body uncomfortably and wanted to get up, but a pair of arms firmly restrained her movements. Only then did she realize that she was actually lying in Bailey Han's arms. She looked up and saw the side of his face and chin. The soft light added some delicate lines to his side profile. As if he felt her struggle, he suddenly opened his eyes. Seeing that she had woken up, a look of surprise flashed across his eyes. "You're awake." He was pleasantly surprised as he touched her forehead. Only when he felt that her body temperature had returned to normal did he put his heart back into his chest. His actions were practiced and natural. She didn't say anything and just glared at him. Puzzled, he asked, "What's wrong? Why are we in the same bed? Do you need me to remind you that you're sick and have a fever?" Bailey Han let go of her and got out of bed. "I was kind enough to take care of you, but you blame me." Xia Dong shrunk her neck guiltily. "Fine, I'll take care of you. Why are you squeezing into the same bed as me? As the person who dragged me to bed and refused to let me go, you have no right to say that." Bailey Han's expression was not good. When had a proud son like him ever done something like taking care of a patient? He had stayed up all afternoon, but she did not appreciate it. Well, fine, she really didn't expect that she would be the one to drag him to the bed. She coughed and avoided his gaze, trying to change the topic. "I'm hungry." It would be strange if she wasn't hungry after sleeping for an entire afternoon. "There's food in the kitchen. I'll go prepare it." He put on his clothes elegantly. She was surprised. "You know how to cook?" His gaze was cold. "Do you have a problem with that?" No. Please feel free to cook. Don't hold back." He grunted in satisfaction and left the room. Xia Dong crawled out of the blanket and realized that she was still wearing the evening gown from last night. It was drenched in sweat and stuck to her body. She rummaged around and found 2 sets of men's and women's clothes in a cupboard at the head of the bed. There were even underwear. She was speechless, and at the same time, she silently blamed her son in her heart. This little rascal, he had actually prepared everything. He must have planned to betray her long ago. She took a shower, changed into clean clothes, and changed the bed sheets. Bailey Han was still not back. Did he really know how to cook? Did he blow up the kitchen? Xia Dong was embarrassed by her own thoughts, but she couldn't deny the possibility. Wearing slippers and a cardigan, she walked down a long corridor and arrived at the kitchen. The lights in the kitchen were very bright. He was wearing a white apron, and his back was facing her as he stood in front of the reflective cupboard. His tall and straight back looked very calm and composed. He was stir-frying, and the smell of cooking oil spread. After a while, it became the aroma of the dishes. Xia Dong looked at the busy person in the kitchen and couldn't help but sigh. Handsome men were blessed by nature. Even his cooking movements were so perfect. After stir-frying the last dish, he elegantly took off his apron. She quickly went forward to help. "I'll prepare the bowls and chopsticks." Broccoli with minced garlic and carrots were the side dishes. The red and green colors were fresh and delicious. The sweet and sour cabbage was sour and appetizing. There was also a dish of stir-fried bitter gourd. The seafood porridge simmered on the gas stove emitted a faint fragrance. It was relatively light and suitable for patients. During the meal, Xia Dong felt touched. This was the first time a man had cooked for her. She slowly stirred the porridge in the bowl and smiled at Bailey Han. "I didn't expect you to know how to cook, and it's so delicious. I was tired of Western food when I was studying in England, so I tried to cook by myself." Bailey Han replied faintly. "I thought you didn't have to do these things yourself. Shouldn't a rich young master like him have groups of servants to serve him? According to the Bailey family's rules, boys will be sent abroad to study after they turn 18. The family will pay for their tuition, but they have to take care of themselves." This was the first time Bailey Han mentioned his past to someone else. "Then you must have suffered a lot." There was no surprise or sympathy on her face, only seriousness. Bailey Han was stunned and opened his mouth. His heart felt like it was wrapped in a duvet, and there was a warm feeling. No one had ever said such words to him. They only saw him in all his glory and brilliance. Clearing his throat, Bailey Han calmed himself down and said arrogantly, "These are all small things. How can they be difficult for me?" She held back her laughter. "Yes, young Master Bailey is omnipotent. The atmosphere between the two of them became harmonious. After the meal, Xia Dong volunteered to clean up the battlefield. Bailey Han stood at the door and looked at the busy woman. He actually thought, this kind of life is not bad. Realizing what he was thinking, Bailey Han's face darkened. He walked out of the cabin with a bit of depression and leaned against the railing to look at the night view of the sea. Let's go. We'll rest for a while and eat some fruit. Xia Dong brought over a large crystal fruit plate. Hearing her voice, Bailey Han's agitated heart gradually calmed down. He replied with a faint "stum" and reached out to take the fruit plate for her. Then he led her to a room on the second floor. Xia Dong opened the door. It was dark inside. What is this? The lights were turned on. It turned out to be a small home theater. No wonder the door felt unusually heavy when she pushed it open. It turned out that it was soundproof. As the owner, you are not as familiar with this yacht as I am. His voice had a hint of mockery. I can't help it. I won the yacht after all. I really don't know what's inside. She didn't mind being mocked by him at all. This only showed how good she was. Even he was defeated by her. She ran over excitedly and flipped through the DVDs inside. Finally, she found a comedy that she had never seen before. The two of them huddled on the sofa and watched the movie while eating fruit. Xia Dong was attracted by the funny plot and couldn't stop laughing throughout. Poor Bailey Han's ears were poisoned by her high-pitched laughter. He really couldn't understand what was so funny about those lousy plots. After watching the funny movie, it was still early. The two of them watched a horror movie. Xia Dong hugged a pillow and curled up on the sofa. The sound effects of the home theater were very good. The creepy sound lingered in the enclosed space and she had goosebumps all over her body. Suddenly, a hand came out of the darkness and patted her shoulder. Wah wah, she jumped up in fright and stammered. Hee hee, Bailey Han, there's a ghost. There's a ghost in your head. Bailey Han knocked her forehead with his big hand and said angrily, It's me. Your guts are smaller than the tip of a needle. You're actually watching a horror movie. I. Who said that a timid person can't watch horror movies? Who told you to suddenly pat me? It's clearly your fault. Xia Dong roared angrily. Bailey Han really wanted to strangle this woman. I'm just reminding you that it's time to take your medicine. Click. The light turned on. Putting the remote control on the table, Bailey Han picked up the glass of water and the pills on the side. She pouted. I'm already much better. Can I not take my medicine? He looked at her coldly. What do you think? If you can't, then you can't. I'll take it, okay? She muttered as she took the pills. With a heroic expression, she suddenly put the pills into her mouth. She then took 2 big gulps of water and swallowed the pills. She couldn't help but stick out her tongue. It's so bitter, so bitter. Here you go. He handed over a slice of apple. The corner of his mouth twitched. Who could tell him why he walked the path of an old mother? Under Bailey Han's meticulous care, Xia Dong woke up the next morning and recovered from her cold. She stretched lazily and looked into the distance. Her movements suddenly froze. Damn it, she almost forgot about their current situation. They were still on an isolated island. Bailey Han's expression was calm. He knew that his family must have known about his disappearance. They would definitely find a way to find him. However, he wasn't a person who resigned himself to fate. Before his family found him, he had to think of a way to save himself. He raised his chin towards the small island. Today, we'll go to the small island over there and see if we can find a way to leave this place. The yacht's own lifeboat had been taken away. They had to use a lifebuoy to reach the small island about 10 meters away from them. Fortunately, the water wasn't very deep. He carried the packed backpack and swam to the deserted island with Xia Dong. When they reached the small island, Xia Dong deliberately distanced herself from the white bones. She scanned the surrounding environment. The forest behind the beach was dark and eerie. She had a very uncomfortable feeling, as if there was a very scary creature living here. Bailey Han also had a bad premonition. This island didn't have the slightest trace of human life. The surroundings were also emitting a damp and rotten smell, which faintly made people feel that it was dangerous. I'll start a fire. You use this to spray a distress signal on the beach. Bailey Han put down his backpack and took out a can of spray paint. Oh, Xiaodong replied. He found a relatively empty beach and began to work with his butt in the air. I'll go to the forest to pick up some dry wood. Don't run around. This dagger is for you to protect yourself. Bailey Han threw her a dagger and said a few more words before walking towards the forest. Welfare, Xinwu 799. Chapter 54. Xiaodong quickly sprayed a large SOS distress signal with red spray paint. Then she sat on the empty beach and waited for Bailey Han to return. Overhead, the sun gradually disappeared and dark clouds began to gather. The sea water washed over the beach and the water level slowly rose. Xiaodong kept staring in the direction of the forest. When she saw Bailey Han appear at the edge of the forest, she stood up and waved excitedly, completely unaware of the danger that was approaching her. Bailey Han carried a bundle of firewood and walked towards the beach. When he saw Xiaodong standing up and waving his arms happily, the corners of his cold and stiff lips couldn't help but slowly curl up. He quickened his pace, but before he could walk far, she suddenly screamed and kicked her ankle like a madwoman. Then he saw her pull out a dagger. His heart suddenly trembled. He threw away the firewood and quickly ran towards her. By the time he got close to her, she had already cut a small green snake into several pieces with her dagger. The snake's tail was still struggling on the beach. She clutched her ankle and fell to the ground, her face deathly pale. It's a poisonous snake. Bailey Han quickly glanced at the snake and bent down to check her wound. The snake's poison was very strong and her wound had already turned black. We have to force the poison out as soon as possible. He tightened his grip on her ankle. After hesitating for a second, he suddenly bent down and covered her wound with his lips. No, don't. She guessed his intention and struggled, trying to pull her leg out. Don't move. He scolded in a deep voice. His hands tightly held her ankle and his cold lips covered hers again. He sucked forcefully, and she felt the wound tighten. He had already turned his head and spat out a mouthful of black blood. Without any pause, he covered the wound again and sucked the poisoned blood mouthful by mouthful. After doing this more than 10 times, the blood he spat out had already turned bright red. It's done. He took a roll of gauze from his backpack and wrapped it around her ankle. Then he took out a bottle of water and rinsed his mouth. Although her wounds still hurt, Xiaodong looked much better. She watched as he took out a bottle of water from his backpack and handed it to her. She asked curiously, "When did you prepare so many things?" "When you're asleep." Before she got up, he had already prepared the things he needed, just in case. As expected of the omnipotent young Master Bailey. "You're even more reliable than Doraemon." She tried to please him. He raised his eyebrows and did not say anything. He looked up at the sky and said, "It's going to rain soon. We have to hurry back to the ship. Can you still walk?" "No problem." She did not want to be a burden to him, so she endured the pain and stood up. However, after taking 2 steps, her body began to sway. He supported her and bent down. "Come up." "Ah." She stared at the man who was squatting in front of her in disbelief. "Come up." He emphasized. "That's not good. You support me. I can walk by myself." How could she dare to climb onto young Master Jean Gui's back? "If you don't come up, you'll have to spend the night on the island." He was already starting to get impatient. "You're threatening me." She quietly climbed onto his back. He hugged her petite body and clasped her thighs with both hands as they walked towards the beach. A bolt of lightning flashed across the sky. Following that, there was a loud rumble. The entire sky seemed to have leaked as it started to rain heavily. The moment the thunder exploded, she hugged his neck tightly and shivered as she hid behind his broad back. The cold rain poured down and they were quickly drenched. Bailey Han frowned. "The rain is too heavy. We can't get back to the ship." He bent down and picked up the backpack on the ground. He handed it to the person behind him. "Carry this. There's a cave in the forest. We'll go there to take shelter from the rain." He had found the cave when he was collecting firewood. It was very dry and suitable for shelter from the rain. "But there's thunder in the sky. It's very dangerous to go to the forest now. Xia Dong's voice trembled. The cave is at the edge of the forest. It won't be dangerous. Without waiting for her to speak again, Bailey Han had already carried her towards the forest. They were about to reach the edge of the forest. It was a low hill covered with fallen leaves and dead branches. It was soft to step on, but Bailey Han didn't dare to let his guard down. The geographical situation here was unknown. The more simple and natural things were, the more dangerous they might be. It was important to be cautious. The rain fell from his hair and blurred his eyes. He had to blink hard before he could see the direction clearly. Hiss! The person on his back suddenly gasped in pain. What's wrong? He quickly stopped in his tracks. A tree branch hooked onto my hair. Xia Dong fumbled with the tree branch in her hair. But the more flustered she was, the tighter her hair was entangled with the tree branch. She tried to raise her head to look in the direction of the tree branch but found something that shocked her even more. Ah, what's wrong now? Snake, snake. There are so many snakes. On the big tree next to them, about 7 to 8 meters away from the trunk, there were many finger-thick green snakes. They all stretched out their heads and flicked their tongues. Their green eyes were fixed on the two people under the tree. Don't panic. Let's untie your hair first. Bailey Han's voice deepened. His arms used more strength to support her. She anxiously touched the top of her head and finally found the tree branch that was tangling her hair. She used her strength to break the branch. Okay, let's go. There are so many snakes on this tree. Not good, there are already snakes approaching us. Hiss, 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 hiss. The snakes on the tree all stuck out their tongues and slithered towards them. A small snake suddenly jumped towards the two people under the tree. Bailey Han keenly sensed movement and nimbly dodged it. The small snake landed 2 steps away from his feet. He hugged her tightly. His eagle-like eyes were fixed on the cave in front of them. His handsome face didn't change because of the snake's attack. He just quickened his pace. Another snake pounced over. He quickly dodged and took a step to the side. Suddenly, he felt the withered leaves under his feet slowly sinking. Just as a bad thought flashed through his mind, he quickly said, "Woman, hug the tree next to you. Don't let go." Xia Dong also felt that something was wrong. She hurriedly hugged the tree next to her. The two gradually stopped sliding. Before they could breathe a sigh of relief, there was a loud crash and the soil under their feet collapsed. Bailey Han's feet were suddenly suspended in the air. His body fell rapidly. In a flash, he suddenly let go of Xia Dong's hands. Bailey Han. Because Xia Dong was hugging the tree trunk with both hands, she hung on the spot when Bailey Han let go of her. The scene in front of them became even clearer. The place they were standing at earlier had become a large hole more than 2 meters wide, and she was hugging the tree beside the hole. When she moved her feet slightly, rocks and soil would fall into the hole with a pitter-patter. Bailey Han, Bailey Han. Xia Dong looked at the big hole by her feet and called out his name in panic. An unprecedented panic surged in her heart. Bailey Han, are you okay? Don't scare me. I'm fine. A calm voice came out from the hole. Xia Dong could almost imagine the man's cold face. She bit her lip and tried to calm down. Don't worry, I'll find a way to get you out. Can you see how deep the hole is? It was dark inside the hole. The air was humid and there was a rotten smell. Bailey Han leaned against the wall of the hole, his right hand covering the outside of his left calf. He looked up and could only see a small light. He slowly said, "The hole is more than 5 meters deep." 5 meters? Where would she find a rope? Bailey Han's faint voice came again. There are ropes in the yacht's warehouse. However, the tide has risen. You can go back when the tide goes down. How are you down there? Are you hurt? Xia Dong touched the rainwater on her face and asked worriedly. I can still hold on. He avoided another question. Go to the cave to take shelter from the rain first. Wait for me. I'll definitely pull you up. After a few minutes of not hearing a reply, Xia Dong was a little anxious and called out again. Bailey Han, are you okay? After a few seconds of silence, she heard his reply. Give me a dagger. Okay, I'll throw it to you against the wall on the west side. Be careful. Xia Dong threw the dagger down against the wall. Take a rest first. I'll be back soon. Although he said he could hold on, Xia Dong was still very worried. She did not go to the cave to take shelter from the rain. Instead, she braved the rain and dragged her injured leg to look for vines nearby. She planned to connect the vines together and pull him out. At this moment, Bailey Han's situation was not much better. He tore a strip of cloth from his shirt and wrapped it around his left calf. However, the air was still filled with the smell of blood. There was a hissing sound in the cave. Something slid down the wall to his side. He knew what it was. And there was more than one. Just as the dagger was about to fall, a snake flew towards him. He dodged quickly and pulled out the dagger at the same time. With a fierce swing, the poisonous snake was cut in two and fell to the ground. The strong smell of blood filled the air. More hissing sounds could be heard. In the closed and damp cave, it was hair-raising. His malicious eyes stared at the restless creatures in the dark. Through the weak light above his head, he could barely see a shadow pouncing towards him. The dagger danced quickly. The number of snake corpses under his feet increased and the smell of blood in the air became stronger. The wound on his left leg ruptured, and more fluid flowed out, but he didn't even frown. His eyes were fixed on his surroundings. Suddenly, a vine as thick as 2 fingers fell from the top of his head. He heard Xia Dong's urgent voice. Bailey Han, do you see the vine? Grab it. Don't worry, my other end is wrapped around the tree. It will definitely be able to bear your weight. He got rid of another snake and whispered, okay. He grabbed the vine with one hand and held the dagger in his left hand to prevent any dangerous creatures from suddenly jumping out. He climbed up step by step. Xia Dong stood beside the tree and waited anxiously. Bailey Han wiped the rainwater off his face and raised his head to look at the entrance of the cave. The light had increased. It was about 2 meters away. He quickened his pace. At this moment, he heard a crisp "Kacha" sound. Damn it, the vine can't hold on anymore. Xia Dong saw a crack appear at the joint between the 2 vines. She did not have time to think. She flew up and grabbed the joint tightly with both hands. She shouted anxiously, Bailey Han, quick, the vine is going to break. Bailey Han's eyes turned cold. He grabbed the vine with both hands and sped up. Hongcha 866. Chapter 55. Xia Dong felt a strong pulling force from the vines. Her legs were hooked onto the tree. Her palms, which had been pulled when she was picking the vines, were burning with pain. She clenched her teeth and held on. She couldn't let go. Once she did, all her efforts would be wasted. Her hands, which were tightly holding onto the vines, were already covered in scars. Red strangle marks crisscrossed on her palms. Her skin was already broken and bleeding. Crash! Gravel fell from the loose opening of the cave. The area near the tree was about to collapse. Her chest had been pulled to the opening of the cave. She could see that Bailey Han had already climbed to a position 1 meter away from the opening of the cave. Her beautiful face was twisted in pain. The wounds on her hands had already ruptured and blood was flowing out. Some of the blood even flowed along the vines and fell onto Bailey Han's face. His eyes darkened. He grabbed the vines with one hand and a piece of soil on the wall with the other, trying to reduce the pulling force on the vines. Finally, he kicked hard and threw himself to the opening of the cave. Xia Dong pulled on his arms. The 2 of them pulled together and finally returned to a safe place. Your feet, your hands, the 2 of them spoke at the same time, but then froze at the same time. They spoke again at the same time. I'm fine. There was an awkward silence. After a few seconds, Bailey Han said lightly, let's go to the cave first. He reached out to take his backpack, but Xia Dong grabbed it first. Let me. Bailey Han's gaze fell on her bloody hands. He silently reached out his hand. Xia Dong couldn't persuade him and handed the backpack to him. The 2 of them supported each other and walked into the cave. The cave was about 10 square meters in size. It was very dry and the ground was covered with soft withered leaves. Bailey Han vigilantly scanned the cave. Only when he didn't discover any dangerous creatures did he put the backpack on the ground. Fortunately, the backpack was waterproof. The things inside didn't get wet at all. Bailey Han took out the gauze and ointment. He reached out to her. "Give me your hand." She reached out her hand to Gigai. He put her hand on his knee and applied the ointment on a cotton swab. He carefully wiped her wound. His eyes were downcast and his expression couldn't be seen. "Does it hurt?" Xia Dong suddenly felt that this scene was somewhat familiar. 5 years ago, when she was injured in Bali, he had also applied medicine for her. In a moment of absent-mindedness, he asked again, "Does the wound hurt?" She came back to her senses. "It hurts. Why didn't you listen to me? Why didn't you wait until the rain stopped and go back to the yacht to get the rope?" His gaze was so terrifying, as if he wanted to skin her alive. She retracted her hand and whispered, "I'm afraid you'll be in danger in the cave. Besides, it's raining so heavily. It's not good for your health to be drenched in the rain." Bailey Han was unable to restrain his anger. An extremely cold storm was completely unleashed as he angrily rebuked a certain someone who had her head lowered. "Where are you going to find vines in such a heavy rain?" Damn it, why was he so worried about her? Bailey Han couldn't understand why he was so angry. At the same time, he was disgusted. He suddenly stuffed the cotton swab into her hand and said with a dark face, "Wipe it yourself." Xia Dong thought he was angry because she didn't listen to him. She carefully looked at him while wiping her wound. "Don't be angry. I'm fine now. You're fine too." She couldn't smile anymore because he glared at her fiercely. Her hand paused and she sucked in a breath. Ugh, she had poked his wound. "You're so stupid. You're so clumsy when applying ointment." Bailey Han couldn't stand it anymore. He snatched the cotton swab from her hand. After applying the ointment, he used gauze to bandage her hands. "Don't touch water. Don't use too much strength." He was like a doctor, giving detailed instructions. She could only nod. Finally, she volunteered to look at his left leg. "Is your leg hurt badly? Let me bandage it for you." "I'm fine." He moved his left leg to avoid her touch. "Be obedient and don't move." She slapped his thigh. "I'm a doctor now. Listen to me." She carefully lifted up his trousers. There was only a piece of cloth roughly tied around his leg. The white cloth was dyed red, and blood was slowly seeping out of it. She stared at his wound in a daze. An uncomfortable feeling kept surging up her throat. Finally, it turned into anger. "Are you an idiot? You're injured so badly and you still say you're fine." Her hysterical roar echoed in the cave for a long time. Xia Dong didn't know why she was so angry. She stared at the man in front of her as if she wanted to find an answer. She didn't expect to see his lips slowly curl into a smile. Oh God. She was going crazy. "You're still in the mood to smile? You must be crazy. You're lucky you didn't fall and become disabled." She rolled her eyes and bandaged his wound again. Fortunately, he was fully prepared. There was water and food in his backpack, but the food was frozen and needed to be heated. Bailey Han gathered all the leaves in the cave into a pile. He found a lighter and lit it. The cave immediately warmed up. She was too nervous to notice it earlier. Now that she was relaxed, Xia Dong felt very cold with her wet clothes wrapped around her body. She sat by the fire and began to dry her clothes. Bailey Han put the food on a wooden stick to heat it up. "Bailey Han, I'm really admiring you more and more. You're good in the hall, good in the kitchen, and good in martial arts. Most importantly, you have wilderness survival skills. You're simply a must-have for traveling." Xia Dong ate the hot food and flattered him. Bailey Han's eyes flashed with an imperceptible smile. His expression was still cold. "If you had been thrown on a deserted island for a month to survive, you would have done these things too." Xia Dong looked at him in disbelief. "Can you tell me about these things?" He didn't answer. She hurriedly said, "If you can't tell me, then forget it." He looked at the fire and said calmly, "Actually, there's nothing much to say. These are the rules of the Bailey family. After the eldest son comes of age, he has to pass many tests before he can inherit the family's power." He hid many secrets that she didn't know about. Only now did she understand that the wealth and status he had now was not because he was blessed by the heavens, but because he worked hard for it. She suddenly thought of a question and blurted out, "Then will your son have to go through these tests in the future?" He suddenly stared at her, his eyes becoming dangerous and cold. "I don't care what purpose you have for approaching me. If you threaten my son, I will make you disappear from this world completely." The atmosphere that had just eased between the two of them stiffened again. She smiled helplessly. "I didn't mean that. On the contrary, I'm very happy that you care so much about your son." He looked at her suspiciously. She calmly met his gaze, her clear eyes without any impurities. Perhaps he was thinking too much. The cold aura around him gradually disappeared. He looked outside the cave and saw that the rain was still pouring. "It seems that we will have to spend the night here." At night, Xia Dong began to have a fever again. Her whole body was burning hot, and the wound that was bitten by the venomous snake began to swell and fester. Bailey Han frowned. He covered her with the coat that had been dried by the fire. He dipped the cloth in rainwater and placed it on her forehead to cool her down. He took care of her for the entire night until the wee hours of the morning, when he finally fell asleep. The two of them who were sleeping did not know that a dark shadow had sneaked out from a hidden corner of the yacht and came to the deserted island. He followed the traces and found the cave. Seeing the two injured people in the cave, a trace of worry flashed across the intruder's eyes. He sneaked back to the yacht using the original route. Xia Xiaobao, who was still on vacation at the Hot Spring Hotel, was woken up by a phone call early in the morning. He heard Jiang Dao's voice. "Young Master Bao, Miss and Bailey Han are both injured." What? Xia Xiaobao jumped out of bed, completely awake. "How did they get injured? Are their injuries serious?" "Mrs. Ankle is injured, and she seems to have caught a cold. Bailey Han's left leg is injured. Both of their wounds have been bandaged, but I can't tell if it's serious." Xia Xiaobao jumped up and down on the bed impatiently. "I announce the termination of the plan. Restore the cell phone signal on the island." "Yes, young Master Bao." Early in the morning, rays of sunlight peeked out. In Bailey's old residence, the butler called Bailey Han's cell phone over and over again. Suddenly, he shouted excitedly, "Young Master's cell phone has been connected. Quick, quick, Ahu, track the signal and find out where they are." Old Madam said excitedly. "Understood. Old Madam, there's news from the Dragon Gang. They've found the yacht's location." Ahu reported loudly, "Old Madam, young Master's cell phone signal has been tracked. It's on a deserted island 400 nautical miles from the shallow sea." "Very good. Inform Bao that the helicopter can take off now." Old Madam gripped her walking stick nervously and said solemnly, "Ooh, go with the helicopter. You must bring young Master back safely." After the heavy rain, the earth was fresh and clean. The rising sun brought with it a hint of warmth and shone into the cave. Bailey Han was awakened by the glaring sunlight. He closed his eyes and opened them again. Only then did he see the scene in the cave clearly. The fire had been extinguished, leaving behind a pile of ashes. There was no one else in the cave except for him. That woman had disappeared. Damn it, where did she go? Was she in danger? The thought flashed through his mind as he dragged his injured leg out of the cave. After the rain, the soil in the forest was soft. With yesterday's lesson, he was even more cautious. He hurriedly but steadily walked on the path in the forest. Walking along the gentle slope out of the forest, he saw a vast beach. The SOS that she had sprayed with red paint had long been washed away by the rain. The yacht that had been docked on the shore was also gone. He was even more anxious. Ignoring the injury on his leg, he ran towards the beach. Virm, virm. Above him, a helicopter flew over quickly and stopped in the empty space in front of him. "Young Master, are you okay?" Ahu and Bao alighted from the helicopter and ran towards them. "I'm fine," Bailey Han said calmly. His gaze swept across the sea where the yacht had been docked, and he walked towards the helicopter. "Oh, take a few people and search this deserted island. The rest of you, return." The helicopter rose slowly, leaving a white trail in the air. Bailey Han returned to the old mansion safely. Old Madam led the entire family to wait at the main door. Seeing his figure, Bailey was the first to pounce on him. However, the moment he touched him, He stopped and froze in front of him. Daddy. Bailey Han took the initiative to carry him. Daddy is fine. Awesome novel. Shinwoo 799. Chapter 56. With her son in her arms, she walked unsteadily to the old lady. Grandma, I'm sorry for making you worry. The old lady's eyes were red. Why is your left leg injured? Is it serious? It's just a scratch. It's nothing serious. Grandma, don't worry. Hun, put Xiaoyi down. Be careful of your leg. The doctor is waiting in the living room. Let him take a look at your injury. Bai Jinxiu also came over. Su Yunqian was standing next to her. Her eyes were slightly red. Although she didn't say anything, they could feel her worry. Mom, Yunqian, I'm sorry for making you worry. The old lady said, Okay. You must be tired after coming back. Go in and take a look at your injury first. We can talk later. Suja checked Bailey Han's injury. The abrasions on his calf were quite serious. Fortunately, his muscles and bones were not injured. There were several scratches on his body, but they were not very serious. After rebandaging his wound, Bailey Han comforted his family. Finally, he followed Su Yunqian back to his room upstairs. As soon as they entered the room, Su Yunqian threw herself into Bailey Han's arms with tears in her eyes. Han, fortunately you're okay. Otherwise, I wouldn't have the face to live. Don't be silly. I'm back in one piece. He gently wiped the tears on her cheeks. If I hadn't gone to the yacht, you wouldn't have come and so many things wouldn't have happened. She bit her lip, her face full of guilt. It's not your fault. I was too careless. He kissed her forehead gently and pulled her into his arms. What happened after you went missing? She bit her lip and looked like she wanted to say something. Were you with Xia Dong? Yunqian, I'm tired. I don't want to talk about this now. He played down this matter. Okay, then have a good rest. I'll come to see you tomorrow. She stood on her tiptoes and kissed him on the lips. When she turned around and left, her eyes were cold. Why didn't he talk about it? Was it because he had done something wrong to her? He was the only one left in the room. He sat at the head of the bed and contacted Ahu. At this time, they had already finished searching the island and were bringing people back to the old Bailey mansion. Oh, what did you find? Young master, the deserted island has been washed away by a storm. There are no traces of human activity. Your mobile phone was found in the shallows 10 meters away from the beach. Is there anyone else on the island? All right, I got it. Lying in the bathtub, Bailey Han frowned. That woman had mysteriously disappeared. Did the person behind her take her away, or did she encounter some danger? At this time, Xia Dong was already lying on her bed. The nanny took good care of her, who had a cold, and even found a doctor to treat her wound from the snake bite. She didn't know how long she slept, but she opened her heavy eyes and looked around in a daze. Her eyes finally lit up. She was home. However, something didn't seem right. The door was suddenly pushed open and a small head popped out. Then it was a scream of surprise. Brother, Mommy is awake. There was a crackling sound. Then, a small body rushed in like a cannonball. Mom, are you okay? Oh. After the shock, it was anger. Xia Dong propped herself up with one hand and grabbed the ear of the little person lying in front of her bed with the other hand. Xia Xiaobao, I'm telling you, you're in big trouble. Mom, you don't have to shout so loudly. I can hear you. Xia Xiaobao dug his ear with a bitter face. You're full of energy. It seems like you've recovered. Mommy, don't abuse brother. He's very pitiful. Xiao Guai blinked her big watery eyes and pleaded for her brother. Xiao Guai, you have no idea what kind of heinous things your brother has done. Xia Dong was full of grievances and had nowhere to vent. I was wrong. Xia Xiaobao took the initiative to admit his mistake. He blinked his big watery eyes that resembled his sister's. Mommy, I was wrong. Please forgive me this time, Mommy. Xiao Guai, go back to your room first. Xia Dong's attitude was firm. She ignored her daughter's pleading eyes and asked the nanny to take her back to her room. Then she would settle the score with her son. Xia Xiaobao, you're getting bolder, aren't you? You think you can play your mother in the palm of your hand just because you're smart? Do you know how dangerous it is on the deserted island? If it wasn't for Bailey Han. Wait, why am I back? Where's Bailey Han? Xia Dong finally realized what was wrong. Well, Bailey Han, his people should have found the island by now. As long as he gave the order not to interfere with the island's mobile phone signal, it would be much easier to find them. Are you kidding me? Do you know how dangerous it is there? How could you leave him alone there? She was about to explode. Mom, don't worry. He's definitely fine now. Xiao Bao rolled his eyes. Do you think Bailey's people are vegetarians? In the 2 days that you were missing, their people almost turned City A upside down. If it wasn't for Uncle Shin's people who helped me block them, they would have found you long ago. Also, Mom, if I bring him back, wouldn't it be obvious that I'm the one behind the disappearance? I'm not that stupid. His principle was to not leave any evidence behind. What he said made sense. Xia Dong thought of her purpose and gradually calmed down. We were lucky this time and didn't cause any irreversible consequences. You're not allowed to do such dangerous things in the future. I know, he blinked innocently. Mommy, since that's the case, can you not punish me? Of course not. She glared at him fiercely and flipped him over, pressing him on her knees. She pulled down his pants and slapped his buttocks with her palms. Xia Xiaobao cried out. Spanking was really the scariest corporal punishment that adults could use to intimidate children. Xia Xiaobao deeply felt that both his body and mind had been greatly damaged. After being spanked, he stuck his little buttocks out and hid under the blanket. Xia Dong gently coaxed him for a long time and wanted to apply medicine for him, but he refused. She had no choice but to ask the nanny to apply medicine for him. After applying the medicine, the nanny was distressed. Miss Xia, you're too harsh. Young master's buttocks are all red. Filled with regret and heartache, she specially made her son's favorite soup and brought it to his bedside. She touched the small ball curled up under the blanket and said softly, "Baby, Mommy shouldn't have hit you so hard. It's Mommy's fault. Mommy knows that you're smart, but if the Bailey's family finds out that it was us who set this trap, will they let us off so easily? Mommy just didn't want you to be in danger. You and Gigai are the most important people to Mommy. Mommy doesn't want you to be hurt. Maybe Mommy was wrong. Mommy shouldn't have involved you in this matter in the first place." The small ball in the blanket moved and his soft hands hugged her waist. She heard her son's muffled voice. "Mommy, I won't do this kind of thing again. You're Mommy's good baby. Mommy made your favorite soup. Come out and drink it while it's hot." She pulled him out from under the blanket and scooped a spoonful of soup for him with a smile. "Here, Mommy will feed you." He smiled happily, his big eyes curved into beautiful crescents. The mother and son leaned against each other and the atmosphere in the room was warm. Xia Dong went missing for 2 days and returned to the company. Everyone was concerned about her and asked her if she was feeling better. She smiled and thanked everyone for their concern. Once again, she was amazed by her son's meticulousness. He had applied for sick leave from the company's human resources department 2 days ago. "Annie, you've chosen a good topic. Give me the manuscript on Friday. Ding Hao, send me the photos of the Paris fashion show after the meeting. Jennifer, have you finished the interview for the cover of this issue?" During the regular meeting, Xia Dong was making arrangements when her phone suddenly rang. She glanced at the caller ID and saw that it was an unfamiliar number. She hung up without hesitation and continued the meeting. After the meeting ended, she returned to the office and dialed the number. "Hello, I'm Xia Dong. Are you looking for me?" A man's magnetic voice came from the other end. "I'm Bailey Han." Xia Dong's mind went blank for a moment. She mumbled, "Oh, hello. What's the matter? What's the matter?" Her voice sounded very businesslike. Bailey Han, who was sitting in the office, had the urge to smash his phone. He must be crazy to call her to confirm her safety. There was no response from the other end for a long time. Xia Dong hesitated and asked, "Bailey Han, is the injury on your leg okay?" Bailey Han's anger miraculously dissipated. he said faintly. What about you? Has your wound healed? Oh, it's fine now. The two of them were silent awkwardly. No one spoke and neither of them hung up. Xia Dong coughed and decided to break the silence. Can you keep what happened last time a secret for me? His face darkened. What do you mean? I think you know that we were stranded on the deserted island because of me, so I hope you can keep it a secret. She gripped the phone tightly and found it difficult to speak. If you think it's difficult, then forget it. I'm ready to bear the consequences. Don't you want to explain what's going on? Sorry, there's someone I want to protect. Very well. He hung up the phone after saying this. Xia Dong listened to the beeping sound from the phone and sighed helplessly. Before she could calm down, another call came in. Hello, I'm Su Yunxian. I want to meet you. Okay, time and place. 7 o'clock in the evening, Repulse Cafe. After work, Xia Dong walked quickly to her parking space. A red sports car suddenly turned from the other side and blocked her way. Bailey Yun got out of the car, took off his sunglasses and walked quickly to her. Bailey Yun. She had just opened her mouth when he suddenly pulled her into his arms. He rested his chin on the top of her head and said in a low voice, Xia Dong, where have you been these 2 days? She lied. I didn't go anywhere. I was sick and had been resting at home. Don't lie to me again. He lifted her head agitatedly, his deep eyes filled with anger and sadness. I went to your house and your aunt's house, but I couldn't find you anywhere. Do you know how worried I was? Do you know how scared I was? I was scared that you would leave without saying goodbye again. You heartless woman, why did you lie to me? Beauty novel, Shinwu 799. Chapter 57. She avoided his gaze guiltily. Bailey Yun, don't be like this. Let go of me first. Let's talk slowly. She saw that there were already people looking over curiously. His handsome face was as dark as the sky filled with dark clouds. He tried hard to convince himself to take it slow and not scare her away. He slowly let go of her and crossed his arms. He looked like he wasn't going to let her go if she didn't explain herself. Tell me now, where did you go? I just went out to play. It's that misty villa. I went there to soak in the hot springs with my family. She tried to divert his attention. I have an appointment with someone at 7 o'clock, and it's almost too late now. Can we talk another day? His attention was indeed attracted by the second half of her sentence. He stared at her fiercely. Who are you meeting with? A man or a woman? A woman. Xia Dong rolled her eyes at him. Can you let me go now? Sure. He suddenly reached out and pulled her into his arms. A sly smile flashed across his slender fox-like eyes. But you have to put my stamp on it. He suddenly kissed her lips. Her eyes widened in shock. He covered her eyes with one hand and held her waist with the other. He pulled her closer to him and deepened the kiss. He sucked and licked her lips. Just as his tongue was about to touch her teeth, she unceremoniously stepped on his foot. He painfully let go of her and looked at her slightly swollen lips smugly. Lunatic. She was so angry that she didn't know what to say. She glared at him fiercely and ran towards her BMW. Xia Dong had a headache. Bailey Yun had suddenly gone crazy and left bite marks on her lips. If she went in now, Su Yunqian would definitely notice something was wrong. She took out the lipstick that she rarely used and applied a little. It looked much better. Su Yunqian hadn't arrived yet. She sat by the window and ordered a glass of soda. After waiting for about 10 minutes, Su Yunqian still hadn't arrived. She picked up her phone and was about to call her when she suddenly saw a familiar figure walk in. It was Su Xingchen and a beautiful young girl. The two of them chatted and laughed as they walked up to the second floor. Xia Dong frowned and began to feel that she had chosen the wrong place. She dialed Su Yunqian's number. Hello, I'm Xia Dong. I'm here. How much longer do you need? I'm already outside the door. With that, she hung up the phone and pushed the door open. Su Yunqian was dressed in a long white dress, looking as elegant as a queen. She sat down gracefully opposite Xia Dong and smiled. You're very punctual. Thank you for the compliment, Xia Dong said indifferently. May I ask why Miss Su is looking for me? She still had a smile on her face. I know that you were the one who caused Han's disappearance. Xia Dong raised her eyebrows. I don't understand what Miss Su is talking about. Then let me remind you that you drugged our wine and sent the three of us home. You only took Han away. I think you've already achieved your ulterior motive, right? Miss Su has a rich imagination. It's a waste that you don't write novels. If Miss Su asked me out today just to say this, then I'll take my leave. The perfect smile on Su Yunqian's exquisite face froze. She took out a check from her handbag and pushed it in front of Xia Dong. Fill in as much as you want. I only have one condition. Leave Han, leave a city and never come back. Thank you for your kindness, but I'm not short of money. Xia Dong didn't even look at the check. Miss Su, in fact, you can have confidence in Mr. Bailey. He didn't betray you. Su Yunqian's eyes were filled with mockery. She looked down at her. I've never believed a man's words. I advise you not to either. Even if Han promised you something, you won't be recognized by the Bailey family. There's nothing between us. Xia Dong was very puzzled. How could this proud woman who was like a queen be so sure that she and Bailey Han were already in an ambiguous relationship? If you were innocent, then there wouldn't be that little bastard. Xia Dong's heart felt as if it had been hit by a hammer. She looked at her coldly. The child is innocent. Please don't insult him. Don't force the grudges between adults onto a child. Su Yunqian snorted. What? Is your heart aching because I'm scolding him? If so, why did you abandon him in the first place? Enough, don't say any more. Xia Dong's face turned pale. She clenched her fists tightly, her nails digging deep into her palms. She couldn't feel the pain because the pain in her heart had long suppressed the pain in her body. Su Yunqian was like Guanyin, with a benevolent smile. She looked at Xia Dong's suffering and whispered in her ear, if you want to take the child away, I can help you. What did you say? She widened her eyes in disbelief. I said, if you want to take that little bastard away, I can help you. Her gentle voice was like poison corroding her. Aren't you very motherly? Don't you want to take your child away? Don't you want to see your child being called a bastard by others? With every question she asked, Xia Dong's heart ached even more. Finally, she closed her eyes and tried to calm down. What benefits do you get by doing this? Of course, Su Yunqian wouldn't tell her that her child occupied the position of the eldest son of the Bailey family and was the only person who had the right to inherit the Bailey group. Only by getting rid of that bastard would her child have the right to inherit the group. Su Yunqian smiled. Of course there are benefits, and that is to keep you away from the Bailey family. How about it? Isn't this a good deal? It was very tempting, but so what if she took the child away? Would she be hunted down by the Bailey family for the rest of her life? Would the child really get the life he wanted with her? Moreover, there was still Xiao Guai waiting for her to save. I'm sorry, I can't make this deal with you. Su Yunqian's perfect smile finally disappeared and her exquisite face turned cold. 5 years ago, you took him away. 5 years later, I won't give you the chance again. Xia Dong didn't want to say more. If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave. Su Yunqian's sharp nails scratched the table as she watched the figure leave her sight. She left a few obvious marks on the table. After sitting for a while, she left. At the staircase on the second floor, Su Xingchen was looking at the spot where Su Yunqian and Xia Dong had been sitting. A charming female voice sounded. Xingchen, didn't you go to the bathroom? What are you doing here? Su Xingchen turned to look at the person and smiled weakly. Fei Yan, I felt a little uncomfortable just now, so I wanted to come out for some air. Bailey Fei Yan hurriedly said, Are you okay? Do you want to sit down and rest? No need, I want to go home first. Can you help me get my handbag upstairs? Okay, wait for me outside the door. I'll be right there. Su Xingchen walked out of the coffee shop and saw Su Yunqian's car coming out of the parking lot. She didn't want to be seen by her, so she hid behind the door and waited until the car was far away before she turned around. Su Xingchen whispered to herself, If I'm not wrong, Sitting opposite Su Yunqian is Glamour magazine's chief editor, Xia Dong. Why are they sitting together? Could it be that this Xia Dong is the one from 5 years ago? Xingchen, I'm here. Let's go. Are you okay? Do you need to see a doctor? Bailey Fei Yen walked out with 2 handbags. I'm fine. I'll be fine after I go home and rest. Then let's part ways here. Bye-bye. She took the handbags and hugged Bailey Fei Yen. As Su Xingchen drove home, there was a thought in her mind. Was that woman really the Xia Dong from 5 years ago? She must find out. Su Yunqian came out of the coffee shop in a bad mood. That damn Xia Dong refused a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. She definitely won't let her off. Brother K, help me do something. She sent a picture of Xia Dong to a man called Brother K. He was the leader of a certain underworld gang she met in the nightclub. Pay attention to her whereabouts. Who she met, what she did, I want to know in detail. No problem, baby. How do you plan to repay me? The man on the other side of the video smiled wretchedly. You're annoying. Do whatever you want, okay? She threw him a coquettish glance, completely different from her usual elegant and noble self. Okay, I'll go to your place tonight. The man smiled even more sinisterly. Night fell. A night full of ambiguity had just begun. There were only 2 people left in the huge villa. In the dining room downstairs, a sumptuous spread of food was placed on the long dining table. Su Yunqian, wearing a low-cut, backless black evening gown, sat at one end of the table. On the other end sat a man in a suit. He had thick eyebrows and big eyes. Although he couldn't be considered a handsome man, he had a dignified appearance and a burly figure, which made him look very masculine. He was the leader of the Flame Gang, Old K, also known as Brother K. Brother K eagerly pushed the cut steak in front of Su Yunqian. Baby, this is fresh steak specially sent over from New Zealand. Try it and see if it's to your liking. Su Yunqian elegantly put a piece of steak into her mouth with a fork and smiled. It's not bad. Eat more if you like it. After all, we'll be doing something very tiring later. Brother K's eyes had a wretched glint as he scanned her exquisite body. Don't be in such a hurry. Her smile turned seductive as she elegantly took small bites of her food. Her delicate red lips were so mesmerizing. Brother K's heart was instantly set on fire. He looked at her with even more infatuation. Baby, you're so mesmerizing tonight. Really? Her eyes had a bone-chilling charm as her lips parted slightly. You're not joking with me, are you? Of course not. I'm just speaking the truth. I'm willing to die under you. He stared at her low-cut neckline with a smirk. That deep cleavage made him lick his lips uncontrollably. You're the one who said it. Don't beg for mercy later. She raised her brows seductively. Baby, I can't take it anymore. Let's start now, okay? The fire in his body was getting stronger. He grabbed her hand impatiently and reached under the dining table. He took her hand and touched the scalding hot spot. The thick and hard cylindrical object was stuffed into her palm, and the scorching heat was transmitted fiercely. A look of disgust flashed across her eyes, but a bashful expression appeared on her face. You're so naughty. Go take a shower first. I'll wait for you in the bedroom upstairs. Okay. Baby, wait for me. The man dragged out his voice and quickly ran to the bathroom. Welfare Hongcha 866. Chapter 58. Su Yunqian wiped her hands with a wet towel, then slowly walked upstairs and into the changing room. When she walked out of the changing room, Brother K was already lying on the bed. From head to toe, there was only a small t-shirt on his thigh, 2 thin belts around his waist, and a small piece of elastic cloth wrapped around his front. It looked very heavy. It looked like it was about to burst out of the cloth. Oh, baby, you're finally out. The man looked at the woman walking over eagerly and obsessively, and he couldn't help but twist his lean back. Slap. A leather whip suddenly struck his firm chest, accompanied by a cold female voice. Don't call me baby, call me Your Majesty Queen. Yes, Your Majesty Queen. The man looked at the woman in front of him, and the infatuation in his eyes intensified. Su Yunqian was wearing an ultra-short black lace dress, black silk gloves, and black stockings that revealed a large portion of her snow-white thighs. She wore 10-centimeter-high leather boots and held a black leather whip in her right hand, standing in front of the bed like an arrogant queen. She arrogantly raised her chin and asked, "Who am I?" "You are my Majesty Queen." "And who are you?" "I'm your slave." She walked closer to him and raised his chin with her left hand. Her lips curled into a mocking smile. "My little slave, is this how you seduce your Majesty Queen?" She fiercely let go, and the leather whip in her hand hit him hard. "I'm very disappointed and very dissatisfied." The whip left a red mark on his body, and the man was stimulated by the pain. He twisted his body and said, "Your Majesty Queen, I'll definitely satisfy you." His burning gaze was locked on her cold and arrogant face, and his body was getting hotter and hotter. His waist seemed to be swaying, and he unconsciously moved forward. His fingers slowly lifted a belt around his waist and slowly pulled it down. Then he flirtatiously lifted another belt and pulled it back and forth. "Be more lascivious." Another whip hit him. The man became even more passionate and flirtatious. His little cuckoo was pulled down to his groin, leaving only a little bit covering the important parts. A part of the black forest was exposed. The queen's lips curled into an evil smile. "Not only are you my slave, but you are also my dog. Try to bark like a dog. If you don't do well, I won't let you go to court. Woof, 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 woof." The man jumped up like a dog and crawled to her feet. He rubbed against her thighs and even stuck out his tongue and blinked at her. "Since you're so obedient, I'll give you a lesson." She hooked the whip around his neck and dragged him back to the bed like a dog. The man was sprawled on the bed. She raised the whip and whipped him fiercely, making cracking sounds. She stepped on his back with her sharp heels, slowly grinding it. So good. So comfortable. Use more strength. The pain brought with it a strange feeling that washed over him like a tide. His vision turned white, and just as he was about to explode, a soft little hand grabbed his private part. "Your Majesty, please hold me tight." The low and hoarse voice had a helpless moan. His entire body was tense, and his body was in peak condition. He was the woman holding the whip. Su Yunqian had an arrogant look on her face. She gripped the thing in her hands tightly and rubbed it skillfully. Her speed became faster and faster, and then there was a loud cry. Her hands were wet. The man panted heavily and rested for a while. Suddenly, he turned around and pressed her down. He kissed her earlobe flirtatiously. "Baby, it's my turn to serve you now." "Then you'll have to do your best." She rubbed his hair with one hand and had a seductive smile on her face. Her body twisted nimbly, just like a beautiful snake. "As you wish, Your Majesty." The man kissed her neck greedily, following the curve down and finally stopping on the fragrant grass. The two of them were like suffocating fish. They hugged each other tightly and entangled together, leaving a room full of lust. After a long time, Su Yunqian was lying in the man's arms. Her slender fingers drew circles on his chest. "Brother K, don't forget what I told you." The man kissed her red and swollen lips. "Don't worry. I'll take what my baby told me seriously. However, that woman is really beautiful." "What? You want to have sex with her?" Su Yunqian looked up at him and said disdainfully, "You men are really too much. You eat from the bowl but look at the pot." Each one of them was a cheap dog. "Baby, I'm just saying that casually. How can she compare to you?" The man pinched her butt. "Why are you monitoring her situation? Did she offend you?" She slapped his unruly hand away. "She wants to steal my man." "Your man? The CEO of Shenghao Group? Why are you still asking when you know?" She pushed him away and walked to the bathroom naked. "Don't let anyone know about this." The man whistled obscenely at her beautiful back. "Baby, if you walk out like this, no man will be able to tolerate you." She didn't answer. She slammed the bathroom door shut and looked at her naked body in the mirror. Her appearance did indeed arouse the desire of many men, but Bailey Han held it in. For 5 years, he hadn't touched her. This was her shame. She could only regain her dignity in front of other men. When she came out of the shower, Brother K was still lying on the bed. She frowned unhappily. "Why haven't you left yet?" The man pounced on her and wanted to hug her. "Baby, don't be so heartless. I'll stay here tonight." "No way. I never let a man stay at my house overnight. It's not like you don't know. Get lost." She kicked his butt. The fiercer she was, the more he liked it. He put on his clothes. "But I'll go. I'll go." "Baby, you're really heartless." Finally, she got rid of Brother K. She changed the bed sheets and quilt with great fanfare. She rolled the things she changed into a ball and threw them into the bin. Lying on the soft bed, she took out her phone and sent a text message to Bailey Han. "Han, good night. Dream of me." She soon received a reply. "Go to bed early. Good night." She turned over and threw the phone on the bedside table. She couldn't help but think of the scene of Bailey Han and Xia Dong being intimate on the deserted island. Although Bailey Han didn't talk about what happened on the deserted island, she always felt that something was slowly changing. And all of this was related to Xia Dong. If it weren't for her, she and Han would have been married long ago. That woman was simply her nemesis. Su Yunxian's beautiful fingers clutched the bed sheets tightly. Her eyes were filled with hatred. On the other hand, Bailey Han had just returned from the old mansion. He was called over by the old madam to ask about the situation on the deserted island. He only said that he was alone on the island and didn't mention anything about Xia Dong. The old madam couldn't get anything out of him, so she let him go. His son had been waiting for him in the living room. When he heard the sound of his car, he ran to the door and waited for him. "Daddy, you're back." The little figure stood at the door. He wanted to come closer but didn't dare. Bailey Han's heart warmed. It turned out that it felt so good to have someone waiting for him at the door. He picked up his son. "Why aren't you sleeping?" "I'm waiting for Daddy." His son lowered his head in embarrassment. "Daddy will come back early in the future." Bailey Han hugged him tightly. "It's getting late. Daddy will take you back to your room to rest." It was time for school to end at Imperial Kindergarten. There were many luxury cars parked outside the school. A Rolls-Royce was parked closest to the school gate. Bailey saw it as soon as he walked out of the school gate. The car door opened and a man in a finely tailored suit came out. His tall and straight figure and handsome face immediately attracted the attention of everyone. Bailey Yi's beautiful eyes lit up. He exclaimed in surprise, "Daddy!" Bailey Han bent down and patted his head. A faint smile appeared on his lips. "Daddy is picking you up today. Get in the car." Bailey smiled brightly, revealing 2 cute dimples. When the girls in the kindergarten saw him, they exclaimed in surprise that he was so cute and handsome. The infatuated Xia Xiaoguai also exclaimed, "So handsome." She crossed her hands and rested her chin on them. Her eyes flashed with little red hearts. If it was any other time, if his smitten sister praised someone else's good looks in front of Xia Xiaobao, he would definitely express his disdain that the person was not as handsome as him. But now, all his attention was on Bailey Han. Bailey Han and Bailey were father and son. They were father and son. That meant that he, Xiaoguai, and that annoying Bailey were all siblings. Xia Xiaobao wished he could become a fire-breathing dragon and roast Bailey Han. How could he do this? He had just abandoned the 3 of them and had Bailey with another woman? Oh, he was so angry. He wanted to bite someone. Xia Xiaobao pulled Xiaoguai away with a fierce face. "Hey brother, you're hurting me. Slow down." Brother, why aren't you saying anything? Why is your face so dark? Did someone piss you off?" Xia Xiaobao did not say a word. He pulled his sister far away and only stopped when he saw Xia Dong's BMW. "Xiaobao, what's wrong with you? You look like someone owes you money." Xia Dong carried her precious daughter into the car and then poked Xiaobao's bun face. Xiaobao panted heavily, his little chest rising and falling, and his little face flushed red. After a long while, he finally blurted out a bunch of idioms in one breath. "A bastard scumbag who flirts with women and abandons his wife." Xia Dong was stunned. She poked his bun face again. Son, what's wrong with you? Nothing. Xiao Bao rolled his eyes and turned his head away from her. Let's go home. I hate everyone with the surname Bailey. Did Bailey E find trouble with you? Her son turned his head and glared. He dares. It's okay, it's okay. Let's go home. It seemed that her son was really angry. Xia Dong patted his head. Don't be angry. Mommy will bring you to eat good food. Yay, brother, don't be angry. Gigai will tell you a joke. The little princess is going to tell a joke. Let's applaud, someone asked a penguin. What do you do every day? The penguin said, eat, sleep, and hit dowdo. That person asked many penguins, and the answers were the same. Sleep and hit dowdo. He asked the last penguin, what do you do every day? The penguin said, eat, sleep. That person asked curiously, why don't you hit dowdo? Awesome novel, Shinwoo 799. Chapter 59. That's so funny. That penguin is dowdo. Before she could finish the joke, Xiao Guai was laughing so hard that she was convulsing with laughter. Xia Dong laughed as well. Xiao Bao rolled her eyes. That's a lame joke, isn't it? But the corners of her mouth curled up. Then tell us one, brother. The car drove into the neighborhood. After parking the car, Xia Dong walked out of the parking lot with a child in each hand. Suddenly, she saw a black luxury car parked at the gate. A man in a black suit stood next to the car. When he saw her, he bowed politely. Miss Xia, our old madam wants to see you. May I ask who your old madam is? Xia Dong glanced at the car. The rear window was closed, so she couldn't see what was going on inside. But she had a feeling that the old madam was sitting inside. The man said respectfully, Old Madam Bailey. Xia Dong froze. The Bailey's family had finally come. She held the two children's hands tightly. She wanted to protect them and couldn't let the Bailey's family take them away from her. Please give me 10 minutes to bring my two little nephews upstairs. Okay, Miss Xia, please hurry. Xia Dong nodded and brought the two children upstairs without looking back. As soon as she entered the house, she locked the door and squatted in front of them. She looked at them seriously. Xiao Bao, Xiao Guai, don't call me mommy anymore. Call me aunt. If anyone asks, just say that you're Uncle Gao Feng's children. Do you understand? Gao Feng was Xia Dong's aunt's son. He had been working in the United States National Defense Research Institute. Because of the special nature of his work, the United States government had done a very good job of keeping his personal information confidential. Even Xia Dong, his family, did not know if he was married or where he lived overseas. Therefore, it would be very difficult for the Bailey family to investigate. Xiao Guai did not understand the sudden change. She pouted and said, Mommy, do I have to call you auntie in the future? You can call me mommy at home, but outside, especially when there are outsiders around, you must call me auntie. Xia Dong hugged her children and said guiltily, Darling, I'm sorry. Believe in mommy, everything will be fine in a few months. Once she was pregnant with Bailey Han's child, she would take the children away again. This time, she would go to Italy to stay by her godfather's side. No matter how powerful the Bailey family was, they would not dare to go against her godfather openly. Mommy, I believe in you. You will definitely do it. Xiao Bao's soft lips kissed her on the cheek. Xiao Guai also kissed her on the cheek. Xia Dong also kissed them, then told the nanny to take good care of them, and then hurried downstairs. As expected, the old madam of Bailey was sitting in the back row. Seeing this smart and capable old madam again, Xia Dong was still very nervous, but she did not show it on her face at all. She smiled politely and greeted her. While she was sizing up the old madam was also secretly sizing her up. After 5 years, she had become more mature, beautiful, and charming. She exuded confidence and capability. It was no wonder that she attracted Ahan's attention again. The old madam went straight to the point. I thought you would never come back. Xia Dong smiled and replied, Life is unpredictable. I didn't expect it either. Have you forgotten what you said back then? The old madam's eyes became sharp. Back then, I promised that I would go far away and never come back to disturb Bailey Han and the Bailey family. But now I regret it. My family is here and I want to live with them. She was neither servile nor overbearing and maintained her smile. Don't even think about bringing Xiao Yi back. Even if I wanted to, I wouldn't do that, Xia Dong said indifferently as her nails dug into her flesh. You don't have to worry about that. Tell me, what do I have to do to make you stay away from Ahun? The old madam's face was full of contempt. I'll give you another 5 million. Is that enough? Rich people were really generous. First, it was Su Yunqian, and now it was the old madam of Bailey. If it was in the past, Xia Dong would have snorted at their behavior, but now she could face it with a smile. Thank you for your generosity, but there's no need. I just want to live a peaceful life. As for Bailey Han, we're just working together. We won't go beyond that in the future. The old madam glanced at her coldly. I hope you remember what you said today. If you break your promise again, then my attitude won't be so gentle. After getting out of the car, Xia Dong felt very tired. What should she do to convince Bailey Han to lend her a child? Xia Dong didn't know that her every move was being secretly recorded and photographed. After meeting with the old madam, Xia Dong still secretly paid attention to Bailey Han's movements, but it wasn't as obvious as before. Bailey Han didn't contact her again. The two of them were like strangers who didn't have any interactions. They were back to square one again. Half a month passed peacefully. Xia Dong began to feel anxious. If this situation continued, when would she be able to get pregnant and cure Xiao Guai? She picked up her phone and found the familiar number. She hesitated for a long time, but still didn't make up her mind to dial it. She brushed her hair dispiritedly. Suddenly, her eyes caught something and her eyes lit up. It was the new issue of the magazine. On the back page was the advertisement of Shenghao Group. She finally found an excuse. Lilith, I'm going out. Call me if you need anything. Xia Dong took her handbag and ran out of the company. After choosing for a long time in the mall, she finally picked a gift. She put it together with the magazine, carefully wrapped it, and sent it to Bailey Han's office. When Bailey Han received the package, Su Yunqian happened to come to see him. She saw the box on his desk at a glance and said with a smile, "What a beautiful box. What's inside?" Bailey Han saw that the sender was Xia Dong and felt a little strange. "Open it and take a look." As he said this, Su Yunqian had already untied the bow on the box. When she saw what was inside the box, her hand froze. "What is it? Take it out and let me see." "It's a magazine and a pillow." Su Yunqian's face was cold with her back facing him. When she picked up the things and turned around, she was full of smiles again. "Miss Xia is really considerate. She sent you such a beautiful pillow." The pillow was cross-stitched. There were 2 cartoon dolls embroidered on it. The two of them were holding hands and looked very intimate. On the back of the pillow was a big English word, happy. Bailey Han just glanced at the pillow and didn't show any special expression. He picked up the magazine and looked at the advertisement on the back. "This is the advertisement that our company published in Glamour magazine. The shooting is not bad." His voice was very calm. It sounded like he was explaining, but when it fell into Su Yunqian's ears, it was especially unpleasant. The advertising director was in charge of the advertisement. That be asterisk teach. Why did she send Ahan a sample magazine for no reason? It seemed like she hadn't given up yet. Su Yunqian pinched her palm with her fingernails and smiled slightly. "Han, I'll leave first. I won't disturb your work." "Okay, drive carefully." Bailey Han kissed her cheek and sent her to the door. After closing the office door, he put the pillow behind him. It was soft and quite comfortable. The corners of his lips curled up slightly. Su Yunqian walked into the empty elevator and dialed Brother K's number. In the elevator mirror, her delicate face was full of hatred. "Brother K, how did you do the thing that I asked you to do last time?" "Good, I'll go to your place tonight. I want to see all the photos." There were dozens of photos scattered on the table. Each photo had the same protagonist, Xia Dong. There were photos of her driving, picking up a child at the entrance of a kindergarten, holding the child's hand and going upstairs. Su Yunqian pointed at a photo. "Whose child is that in the photo?" Brother K reached out and pulled her into his arms. I heard that it's her cousins. The boy's name is Xia Xiaobao, and the girl's name is Xiao Guai. She has a cousin? Su Yunqian raised her eyebrows. If it's her cousin's child, why is her surname Xia? I heard that her cousin works in the United States. As for why the child's surname is Xia, isn't it simple? Her cousin followed her aunt's surname. What's her cousin's name? Xia Feng. Su Yunqian felt very surprised. Xia Dong's uncle was really strange. He actually allowed his son to follow his wife's surname. However, the surprise only lasted for a moment, and soon she focused her attention on Xia Dong. She picked up a photo, which was secretly taken when Xia Dong and the old madam of Bailey met. Who's the person in this car? I don't know. The person in the car hasn't come out. It's very mysterious. According to my people, she has a very regular life. She goes to work, gets off work, and picks up her nephew. During this time, she hasn't had any contact with Bailey Han. That's because your people are useless. Su Yunqian was furious at the mention of this matter. Her face showed a rare angry expression. Do you know what happened this afternoon? That bitch actually sent Ahan a pillow. Who does she think she is to him? What right does she have to interfere with Ahan's life? Don't be angry. Let's do something happy. The man impatiently hugged her and kissed her. Go away. I'm not in the mood today. Su Yunqian pushed him away in disgust. She tidied her clothes and returned to her dignified appearance. I want you to find a few people and teach her a good lesson. What do you want to do? The man leaned over and wanted to kiss her, but she pushed him away. Doesn't she like to seduce men? Then I'll let her seduce as much as she wants. Su Yunqian's eyes flashed with a vicious light like that of a poisonous snake. On the other side, in Xia Xiaobao's room, Xiaobao was holding a small laptop and video calling Jiang Dao. Young Master Bao, the group that followed Miss has retreated. Did you find out who they are? They're from the Flame Gang. Xiaobao typed Flame Gang into the database and a bunch of records about the Flame Gang popped up on the computer screen. He snorted and pursed his lips. Then he snorted disdainfully. So their boss, Brother K, is a pervert who loves to be abused. That damned bastard. If you come looking for trouble with my mommy again, I'll make sure you die a horrible death. Jiang Dao couldn't help but shiver when he saw the little devil smile. They had discovered the Flame Gang's men secretly following Miss Xia on the first day. However, they didn't take any action, deliberately allowing the other party to collect a bunch of wrong or unimportant information. Young Master Bao, although their men have retreated, I'm worried that they won't let it go. It's better to continue watching them. Welfare, Xinwu 799. Chapter 60. Yes, you're right. Help me keep an eye on them. Don't let them do anything bad to mommy. Also, find out why the Flame Gang is making trouble for us all of a sudden. Yes, young Master Bao. After ending the call, Jiang Dao hesitated for a moment before deciding to report the recent events to Mika Kito, who was far away in Japan. After all, it involved the conflict between the gangs. The next night, Su Yunqian came to Bailey Han's villa with a collector's edition Transformers model. She said that it was a gift for Bailey E. Bailey E calmly took the gift and thanked her politely. He even said considerately, "Daddy, I won't disturb you and Auntie Sue anymore. I'll go back to my room first." Okay, sleep early. Bailey Han was very satisfied with the change in his son. When they were alone, Su Yunqian leaned into his arms and said gently, "Han, I'm so happy. Xiao Yi seems to be trying to accept me." Xiao Yi is a sensible child. He actually understands that you're good to him. He just didn't know how to express it in the past. Bailey Han was actually talking about himself. When he tried to communicate with his son, his feelings for him grew deeper and deeper. He felt proud of being a father from time to time. "Han, can I stay here tonight?" Su Yunqian's slender fingers wandered around his chest and she said coquettishly, "I haven't been alone with you in a long time." "Whatever you say." He hugged her and his voice was gentle and doting. "Then, can you go take a shower now?" She blinked and her voice was as soft as water. He stroked her hair and walked towards the bathroom. The sound of running water came from the bathroom. Su Yunqian took out his phone from his pocket and quickly sent a text to Xia Dong before deleting the message history. When Bailey Han walked out of the bathroom, Su Yunqian had already changed into sexy pajamas. She had 2 glasses of red wine in her hands, and there was a faint smile on her pink cheeks as she approached him. He had a towel wrapped around his lower body, and his upper body was naked. He walked over slowly with his slender legs, and the water droplets on his body slowly slid down his perfect curves until they slid down his lower abdomen into that mysterious area. It was the most perfect body she had ever seen, bar none. She suddenly felt a little hot and couldn't help but lick her dry lips. She leaned against his chest, her red lips slightly pursed as she took a small sip of red wine. Then she kissed his chest, the cold liquid and hot tip of her tongue sliding across his body. Then her lips sucked on his dogwood, her tongue deftly sliding over the tip. With a light scrape, his body froze. Bailey Han looked at the woman in front of him. Her usual elegance had long faded from her face, and her beautiful eyes were already as seductive as silk. Her delicate and smooth skin shone with a dazzling luster under the soft light. He didn't know why, but another pair of eyes appeared in his mind, and she whispered like a lover, "Bailey Han, I love you. That's why I got close to you." He suddenly put his hands on Su Yunqian's shoulders and wanted to push her away. She was caught off guard and threw herself into his arms. Her voice was choked with sobs. "Han, I'm so scared. I'm scared that you'll fall in love with another woman." "Don't be silly," she wrapped her arms around his neck. "Han, do you know that you've changed a lot recently? In the past, you wouldn't even look at other women, but now, you and that Xia Dong, there's nothing between us." Bailey Han sighed and said gently, "Don't think too much. Then tell me what happened that night. Why did you end up on a deserted island?" "Yunqian, I've already explained this matter. I was alone on a deserted island, and nothing happened, okay?" Bailey Han's tone was starting to become unhappy. "You're lying to me, you're lying to me. Han, you've never lied to me before." His temper rose as she kept questioning him. He blurted out without thinking, "Yunqian, you weren't like this before either. Where did the elegant, generous, and forgiving Su Yunqian that I liked go?" She froze. She had actually lost her mind. She kept warning herself not to ask him too much, but she just couldn't help it. She was afraid that she would no longer be able to control his heart. She smiled, a sad smile with tears in her eyes. "Yes, I've changed. That's because we've been dating for 6 years. After 5 years of separation, we finally met again. I've already begun to worry about losing you. 6 years of love, when will it end?" As soon as she cried, his heart softened. "It'll end soon. Look, Xiao Yi has already tried to accept you. Things have already started to develop in a good direction, haven't they?" She still had a lot to ask him, but she knew that he was already angry just now. If she continued, it would only make him feel disgusted. She knew when to stop while she was ahead. She leaned into his arms and apologized carefully. "Han, I was wrong. Don't be angry with me, okay?" "I'm not angry. It's getting late. Rest early. You sleep in my room. I'll go to the guest room. I want to have a child for you." She pulled him with a shy expression. "A child who looks like you. After we get married, I hope the child will look like you. Good night." He kissed her forehead. After we get married. Why not now? Was she not attracted to him at all? Su Yunqian was very angry, but she still smiled and said goodnight to him. Bailey Han walked towards the door. In the next moment, Su Yunqian suddenly screamed, Snake, snake." Bailey Han quickly turned around. The little green snake was dancing in the living room. When it heard a woman scream, it quickly crawled in the direction of the sound. "Snake, Snake Han, get it out of here." The woman's shrill screams resounded throughout the room. She jumped back. She didn't know if it was because she was panicking too much, but she slipped and fell. Bailey Han rushed forward and caught her in his arms. "Ah!" She screamed again. Her beautiful face was distorted with fear and pain. Snake bit me, Bailey Han's heart sank. He held her waist with one hand and quickly attacked the little snake's weak spot with the other. He crushed the snake to death with his bare hands. Butler, inform the doctor that Miss Sue has been bitten by a snake. After more than 10 minutes, Sue rushed over. Fortunately, the snake's venom was not very strong. He removed the snake's venom and bandaged her wound. He whispered, "That's strange. Why did a snake suddenly come out of your room?" Bailey Han was also very strange. His face turned ugly and he ordered the butler, "Clean the villa tomorrow. If you let those dangerous things sneak in again, you don't have to work anymore." "Yes, young master." The butler's old face was very pale. Su Yunqian was most afraid of snakes. She didn't dare to live here anymore and insisted on going home. Bailey Han was worried about her, so he carried her to the car and personally sent her home. A small figure stood in front of a window on the second floor with a disdainful look on her face. She looked at the taillights of the car disappearing into the night and snorted coldly. "If you want to be my mommy, you have to ask me if I agree." Poor Xiaoqing, he was crushed to death by Daddy. Xia Dong was very happy. She actually received a text from Bailey Han last night. In the text, Bailey Han thanked her for the gift she sent him yesterday. He liked it very much. In order to express his gratitude, he invited her to the hotel for dinner and made an appointment to meet at 7 o'clock in the evening in room 305 of the hotel. This was a breakthrough. Tonight, she would take the opportunity to negotiate with him again. Xia Dong hummed happily and changed into different sets of clothes in front of the mirror. Xiao Bao was very curious about her unusual behavior. "Mom, are you going out on a date?" "Yes, Bailey Han asked me out." Xia Dong already regarded her son as her ally and no longer hid it from him. His small round face puffed up and his big eyes blinked. He said, "Mommy, do you want to call him first to confirm? What if he's just joking?" That's not very good. I'm afraid that I'll give him the impression that I'm anxious and I'm rushing him." Although in fact she was really anxious. "Oh, that's right. Then you go on the date." Little Bun touched his chin and commented with a smile, "Although this dress is sexy, it's not revealing. It's very suitable. I'll take it." Yes, I think so too. Then I'll take it." "Son, take good care of Xiao Guai. I'll be leaving first." Xia Dong kissed her son on the cheek and happily went out. When she reached room 305, Bailey Han was still not there. A waiter brought her a drink. She didn't even look at it and gulped it down. After waiting for a while, Bailey Han was still not there. She raised her wrist to look at her watch. Strange, it's already 7 o'clock. Why isn't he here yet? She didn't know why, but she felt a little hot and irritated. She was too lazy to think about it and directly dialed Bailey Han's number. "Hello, Bailey Han, this is Xia Dong. Have you left? I'm already at the hotel." Bailey Han was already on his way home. When he received the call, he was puzzled. "What hotel?" Xia Dong was even more irritated and her voice involuntarily rose. "Didn't you ask me to meet at Grand Hyatt Hotel's room 305 last night? I never asked you out." Bailey Han thought she was playing tricks again. After saying this, he was about to hang up when he suddenly heard a scream from the phone. The phone in Xia Dong's hand was suddenly snatched away and thrown to the ground. She was also slapped in the face. "Who are you? What do you want?" Xia Dong angrily looked at the 5 men who suddenly barged in. They all had colorful hair, pierced ears, shiny earrings, and cigarettes in their mouths. They all looked like delinquents. B****, didn't anyone tell you that this is our territory? How dare you barge into our room? Do you want to die? A man with blonde hair spat out the cigarette in his mouth and said fiercely, "Did she accidentally barge into someone else's territory? That's not right. Didn't Bailey Han ask her to meet here?" She thought for a moment and said calmly, "Sorry, I'll leave now." She walked towards the door. When she was 1 step away from the door, someone grabbed her arm and threw her towards the sofa. She quickly adjusted her body and steadied herself with one hand on the table. "B***, you want to leave? It's not that easy. Since you're here, Stay. Play with us for a bit. The five of them smiled wretchedly and approached her step by step. Awesome novel, Song Shu 566. Chapter 61. Bailey Han heard the screams on the phone. He called Xia Dong's name several times, but there was no response. He had a bad feeling. Without hesitation, he turned the car around and drove in the direction of the Grand Hyatt Hotel. His hands gripped the steering wheel and his fingers began to stiffen. He actually felt nervous and worried. The phone rang and he quickly picked it up. It was Su Yunxian's voice. My leg hurts. Can you come over and keep me company tonight? He frowned slightly. Yunxian, I told Xiao Yi that I would go home and have dinner with him. I'll come over to see you tomorrow. Are you home now? Not yet. I'm on the way. Then I won't talk to you anymore. Focus on driving and be careful. Su Yunxian threw the phone on the floor. She stood in front of the dressing mirror with a dazed smile on her face. Xia Dong, tonight, I'll make you remember it for the rest of your life. Grand Hyatt Hotel, room 305. Xia Dong supported herself with one hand on the sofa's armrest. She panted as she looked at the five men surrounding her. Two of them had already been beaten to the ground by her. The other three were holding daggers and staring at her with bloodshot eyes. What's wrong? Can't fight anymore? A man with dyed red hair patted his hand with a dagger. I didn't expect you to have some skills. But later, you'll only be able to beg for mercy under our brothers. If it was under normal circumstances, she still had a chance to escape. But now, her head was dizzy and her body was hot. She felt as if there were ants gnawing on her organs. It was so itchy. She began to see double and couldn't see clearly. She wanted to tear her clothes to cool herself down. It was so uncomfortable. Don't talk nonsense with her. Let's attack her together. If we don't *CK her to death, I'm sorry for the punch I took just now. The man with yellow hair spat and rushed forward with a green light in his eyes. The other two also rushed up, tearing her clothes and pulling her hair. Xia Dong struggled with all her might, but her body's instinct told her that she actually wanted someone to hug her. Something was wrong. Something was very wrong. In a flash, she understood that she had been drugged with an aphrodisiac. There must be something wrong with the drink she drank when she walked into the room. She gritted her teeth, kicked her feet and headbutt them. She used the most primitive methods to fight against the three wolves. However, the effects of the drug were about to reach its peak. Her resistance was getting weaker and weaker. Her clothes were all torn off, revealing her white and tender skin. Damn, this bitch's figure is really good. His skin is so smooth. Move aside, I want to be the first. What first or second? Why don't the three of us do it together? Look at her upper and lower body, they're just as mesmerizing. They said unbearable words as they climbed onto her body. At this moment, the room door was suddenly kicked open. Bailey Han rushed in and kicked two of them over. The man who was on top of Xia Dong's body had his entire row of gums broken. He rolled to the side and vomited. His mouth was full of blood mixed with broken teeth. Damn, who are you? How dare you meddle in our business? The three injured men, in addition to the two men who had been struck down by Xia Dong, all got up and rushed forward without a care for their lives. Bailey Han quickly took off his jacket and covered Xia Dong's body. His fierce punches and kicks quickly attacked the five men. His movements were fast and ruthless. With a few cracking sounds, the five men's leg bones were all broken. The most miserable one had all his ribs broken. The five men lay on the ground and cried. Their bodies were covered in blood. His fierce and bloodthirsty gaze swept across them. If there's a next time, I'll break your necks. He carried the trembling Xia Dong and strode out. When he walked out of the room, he called the police and asked them to deal with these scumbags. So hot, so uncomfortable. Xia Dong, who was burning with lust, had already lost her mind. She hugged Bailey Han and unconsciously rubbed against his body. The coolness of his body made her feel a little better. She moaned in satisfaction. So comfortable, Bailey Han's body stiffened, but he did not stop moving forward. He tightly held her in front of his chest to prevent her from falling. Damn it, they drugged you? Woman, stay still and don't move. His magnetic voice fell into her ears and made her feel at ease. However, her body was very uncomfortable. She sobbed. So uncomfortable, so hot. Bailey Han, help me, help me. He had originally planned to carry her to the hospital, but looking at her, it was too late. Bailey Han turned and entered the elevator. He booked a presidential suite. He rushed into the bathroom and put her in the bathtub. He turned on the cold water and washed her body. Because of the water, the clothes on her body slipped off, revealing her skin. Her entire body seemed to have been cooked, glowing with a pink luster. Her proud twin peaks were sticking out, and the mysterious valley was also exposed in front of his eyes. She rubbed against the cold bathtub impatiently, letting out a joyful and painful moaning sound. His body froze, his heart was burning, and there was a warm stream of heat flowing past his nose. He touched his nose and his hand was bright red. He actually had a nosebleed. He awkwardly wiped the blood from his nose and scolded himself in his heart. It was not like he had never seen a woman before. His cheeks were faintly pink. He looked away uncomfortably. You soak in the bathtub. I'll be outside. If there's anything, call me. He slammed the door and sat on the sofa, holding back his anger. The water in the bathtub was still splashing. Bailey Han's mind could not help but think of that seductive scene. His throat moved. He picked up the wine on the wine rack and poured a full glass. The burning feeling dissipated a little. He drank a few more glasses. His body finally calmed down, but his mind was not clear because the wine he hurriedly took was the highest concentration. Bailey Han knew that he was drunk and his head was starting to feel dizzy. Thus, he held his forehead and walked to the bedside, intending to rest for a while. Soon, he closed his eyes and his mind entered a state of chaos. At this moment, the bathroom door opened. Xia Dong walked out naked and dripping wet. Water, I'm so thirsty. She touched the bottle on the table. Without even looking, she picked it up and drank 2 mouthfuls. She smacked her lips and sighed in relief. She finally felt much better. However, why did her head start to feel dizzy again? Water, wine? Damn it, she drank the wine as if it was water. The dryness and heat in her body had not completely dissipated. She started to feel dizzy again. She stumbled to the bed and accidentally fell into a warm embrace. Bailey Han was pressed down. He frowned uncomfortably and wanted to push the person on top of him away, but she hugged him tightly instead. The two people who were delirious hugged each other just like that. The soft and delicate body in his embrace rubbed against him uneasily, and soon, it ignited the fire in his body. His face flushed red and his eyes narrowed. He suddenly felt a little thirsty. He rubbed his face against her body and felt the moisture on her body. He touched her lips and there were still water droplets on them. He cupped her face and kissed it. He followed the flow of the water droplets and sucked them down bit by bit. His body also started to burn. The desire in his body was awakened. The water on her body was quickly evaporated by their body heat. When his raised part touched her legs, an electric current ran through his body. It was extremely comfortable, but it was still not enough. He flipped over and covered her under him. His hot palm slowly moved along her perfect curves. She shuddered and felt drunk. She couldn't help but reach out her arms to hook him and pull him closer to her. He couldn't hold it in anymore. He desperately needed a vent. Following his instincts, he finally found that quiet entrance. He bit her lips and slowly entered. It hurt. Her nails dug into his back. He felt her pain and stopped. He kissed her for a while more. When she got used to it, he began to move again. Inch by inch, it was all eroding. When it was all over, Bailey Han let out a low growl. Then, following his instincts, he began to go on a rampage. He had suppressed it for too long. Once he got a vent, it was as crazy as a storm. The next day, Xia Dong woke up first. She felt sore all over, as if her bones were falling apart. She also felt like she had been run over by a car. She was so tired that she didn't want to move. She forced herself to move her body. She actually touched a naked chest. She suddenly looked to her side. Bailey Han was sleeping peacefully beside her. The scariest thing was that his hand was still around her waist. She lifted the blanket and peeked. They were all naked. Wait a minute. She reorganized her memory. She was drugged and attacked. Then, someone rushed to save her. Then she was thrown into the bathtub. After that, this was what happened. It really happened last night. It wasn't a dream. Xia Dong didn't know if she should be happy or sad. She took deep breaths and exhaled several times before she calmed down. Now wasn't the time to be conflicted. She had to clean up the battlefield before Bailey Han woke up. She had to pretend that nothing happened. Fortunately, Bailey Han drank last night. Because of his hangover, he wouldn't wake up for a while. She quietly withdrew from his arms and ran to clean up. After changing her clothes, she wet a towel and helped him clean up. Fortunately, she didn't scratch his front last night. As for his back, it was fine as long as he couldn't see it. When she brushed that part, she couldn't help but blush. She rubbed it twice. Oh God, it actually reacted and stood up. She was so scared that she quickly covered it with the blanket. After cleaning up all the traces she left behind, Xia Dong glanced at Bailey Han, who was still sleeping, and ran out of the door. Her body was still hurting, but she couldn't care less. She called the company and asked for a leave of absence. When Xia Dong got home, she realized that she hadn't been home all night. The children were very worried. Xiaobao even mobilized Jiang Dao to look for her. At 11 o'clock last night, Xiaobao couldn't get in touch with her, so he sent Jiang Dao. Jiang Dao rushed to the hotel just in time to see the police taking away a group of criminals. He guessed that his mom had fallen into a trap. Fortunately, his mom was fine. Xiaobao regretted not being more vigilant in time. He definitely wouldn't let those bad guys off. Xia Dong roughly explained what happened last night. Of course, she skipped the part where she had sex with Bailey Han. Mom, you must be tired. Get some rest, Xiaobao said considerately. When she got back to her room, Xia Dong still hadn't calmed down. She called Yi Siki and confided, Yezi, I succeeded, but I'm not happy at all. I wanted to persuade him to do IVF with me, but I didn't expect that we would still have sex. Yi Siki comforted her, since it already happened, don't think too much about it. Anyway, he was willing. Beauty novel, Song Shu 566. Chapter 62. He was drunk, and I was drugged with an aphrodisiac. Is this fate? Xia Dong laughed self-deprecatingly and leaned back on the sofa. I did some calculations. Yesterday was my most dangerous period, and the chances of me getting pregnant are quite high. From today onwards, I can distance myself from him. So you're pretending that nothing happened? Yes, now I'm praying that I can get pregnant. In the hotel, when Bailey Han woke up, it was already close to noon. Because of his hangover, his head was still hurting. He leaned against the headboard and rested for a while before he remembered that he had thrown Xia Dong into the bathtub last night. He casually lifted the blanket and wanted to get out of bed, but he quickly pulled the blanket over himself. What was going on? Why was he naked? Could it be? He grabbed his clothes from the side of the bed and put them on, then rushed to the bathroom. There was no one in the bathroom, and it was very clean. There was only a tank of water in the bathtub. His handsome face darkened. That woman ran away again. Xia Dong arrived at the company in the afternoon. Just as she sat in the office, the phone on her desk rang. Hello, I'm Xia Dong. May I know who's calling? Woman, why didn't you turn on your phone? Bailey Han's anger was transmitted through the phone line, and Xia Dong's ears were buzzing. She held the phone a little further away. My phone was lost last night. She thought for a moment and said, it should still be in room 305 of the Grand Hyatt Hotel. Why didn't you wake me up in the morning? What happened last night? Why did I? He paused and lowered his voice. Why was I naked? Sure enough, he came knocking on her door. Xia Dong replied calmly, Mr. Bailey, I woke up in the bathtub early in the morning and saw you sleeping on the bed. Because of this difference in treatment, I was very angry, so I deliberately didn't wake you up. What's wrong with that? As for why you were sleeping naked, how would I know? Isn't it because you have a habit of sleeping naked? The person on the other side of the phone paused for a few seconds and didn't speak, but Xia Dong could hear his heavy breathing, as if he was trying hard to suppress something. Are you sure nothing happened last night? She raised her voice. I'm sure that nothing happened last night. All right, I'm going to start working now. Goodbye. As soon as he finished speaking, he hung up the phone. His actions were swift and smooth. Damn it, she actually hung up on him. Was this how she should treat her savior? Bailey Han was so angry that he slammed his fist on the table. However, he soon calmed down and thought about what had happened last night. He realized that Xia Dong had been set up by someone and that person knew a lot about them. Bailey Han specifically contacted the police chief and tactfully expressed his high concern about the attempted gang rape case last night. He also expressed his cordial attitude towards the victim. The police chief naturally understood what he meant and immediately said that he would investigate the situation as soon as possible and would not disclose any information about the victim. Su Yunqian quickly realized that her plan had failed. She angrily smashed the teacup, and her face was as cold as ice. Trash, all trash. You can't even handle such a small matter. Now that you've alerted the enemy, it'll be even more difficult to deal with her next time. Brother K said seriously, those brothers have been arrested and sent to the police station. If they can't handle it and say something they shouldn't, then it'll be very troublesome. In for a penny, in for a pound. Just make sure they can't speak. Su Yunqian looked at him disdainfully. This man was so useless. She really wondered how he became the leader of a gang. Baby, you're so smart. Brother K smiled and kissed her. He took out his phone and dialed a number. He said, Wild Wolf, find someone to get rid of those people in the police station. Also, tell the brothers to be careful. The person who saved that woman last night is definitely not simple. Su Yunqian's eyes flashed. Who was the person who saved that B*Ts last night? Those who saw him are all in the police station. I'm also very curious about who it is. Su Yunqian glanced at him. Be careful these days. Let's not see each other for the time being. If someone finds something that can be used against us, you know what to do. Don't worry. Even if I die, I won't give you up. He leaned over and touched her charming face. How could I bear to do that? Don't you think so, baby? Su Yunqian leaned on his chest with a coquettish smile on her face. You're just making me happy. But there was a flash of darkness in her eyes. Stinky man, if you dare to give me up, I'll make sure you die without a burial ground. Dead people were the best at keeping secrets. Brother K and Su Yunqian both had the same idea. They wanted the informants in the police station to get rid of the 5 troublesome people. However, the informants did not even have the chance to do anything. The bureau chief attached great importance to this case and locked the 5 criminals in a special room. Other than the bureau chief himself, no one else was allowed to get close to them. The bureau chief quickly used all his means to get information from the criminals. The leader of the Yen gang, Old K, was the mastermind behind this. He immediately reported this information to Bailey Han. Almost at the same time, Jiang Dao also found out that the attack on Xia Dong had something to do with the Yen gang. Because the situation was serious, he also reported this matter to Mika Kito. Therefore, Old K was in trouble. The Black Street was the most chaotic and dangerous area in a city. The people who gathered here were all fugitives and wanted criminals with criminal records. It was also the place where the major underworld forces were entrenched. Fights were common here and it was common for people to die here. Old K received a call from one of his underlings, saying that their forces in the Black Street had been wiped out. His underlings anxiously asked him for help. Old K hurriedly brought a group of people and rushed over, only to find that everyone in the Black Street had surrounded them. According to the rules of the Black Street, guns were not allowed. Therefore, the people who surrounded them were holding all kinds of knives in their hands. Some of them were even holding iron bars. Old K secretly gestured to the people behind him as he chuckled and said, "Friends, what are you doing? Is there a misunderstanding?" Tui, a man walked out with a 30-centimeter long knife in his hand. He had a head of exploding hair and wore ripped jeans and a t-shirt. He looked like a biker gang in anime. Old K, I can only say that you're unlucky to have offended someone you shouldn't have. They said that they'll give $1 million to whoever stabs you once. There were at least 100 people in this black mass. If each of them gave him a stab, then he would be cut into pieces. Old K looked at the crowd that was closing in on him. His forehead was covered in cold sweat. He suddenly shouted, "Don't move. You're too immoral. We're all from the Black Street. Why are you siding with outsiders? You can only blame yourself for offending someone too powerful. We can't afford to offend him." After the exploding head roared, he swung his long knife at Old K. "Yeah, Old K, don't blame us. We had no choice. We still want to stay in this Black Street for a few more years." A bald man rushed forward with the iron bar in his hand and hit one of Old K's subordinates. That subordinate fell to the ground and vomited blood. "Let's go, everyone. For that $1 million. Let's go. Kill Old K." Crazed shouts rose up like a tidal wave, and a vast group of people besieged him. Swords and sticks did not have eyes, and with a single slash, an arm was gone. Blood flowed everywhere, and severed arms and legs fell to the ground in a horrifying manner. Old K didn't care about the rules anymore. He took out a pistol and fired at the crowd. The person at the front covered his wound and cursed, "F***, Old K, you bastard. You actually used a gun. Brothers, take his gun and cut him into 1,000 pieces." Bang bang bang. The sound of gunfire continued. One by one, people fell down. Blood splattered everywhere. Old K dodged the attacks of knives and sticks while retreating under the cover of his subordinates. In his heart, he cursed Su Yunxian 1,000 times. "F***CKU, stinky B***T. You knew the opponent wasn't to be trifled with, yet you pushed the job to me. Now, I'm being chased and I don't even know if I can survive until tomorrow." "Ah!" Old K screamed. He didn't know who threw a knife, but it cut off Old K's right wrist. His right hand fell to the ground, still holding the pistol tightly. Old K endured the pain and wanted to pick it up, but he was kicked away by someone behind him. His severed hand and pistol fell into the smelly ditch. "Stop, everyone stop. I'll give each of you $1 million. Let me go." At this time, Old K was panicking. He was like a stray dog. His whole body was covered in blood as he wailed in pain. "It's too late. We don't dare to take your $1 million. A blade landed on his back, and blood sprayed onto the surrounding people who were attacking him. Everyone expressionlessly wiped away the blood and continued to slash at his mangled body with their blades. Mournful screams and pleas for mercy resounded throughout the Black Street. Everyone looked on indifferently. From time to time, they would squeeze forward to add 2 more knives. Seeing that someone was about to chop his neck with a knife, a gunshot interrupted his action. A man wearing a black trench coat and black sunglasses appeared in front of everyone with a long gun on his shoulder. Behind him were 2 men in black suits and black sunglasses. The man said coldly, "Leave that man alive. The Sanka group wants him." When the man's voice fell, the surrounding people were shocked at first. Then they began to whisper, "Look at them. They seem to have a big background. We'd better not provoke them." Old K is someone the Dragon Gang wants to deal with. Now, the Sanka group suddenly appeared to protect him. Things are getting more and more heated. We'd better not get involved. That's right. It's more important to stay alive. Those people tacitly took a step back and opened up a path to Old K's mangled body. The man in the black trench coat tilted his head. The 2 men behind him immediately stepped forward. One on the left and one on the right of Old K, who was covered in blood. "Get him to the trunk. Don't let him die." The man in the black trench coat took the lead and stepped into a Maybach. He took off his sunglasses, revealing a handsome Asian face, Jiang Dao. The Maybach sped all the way out of the Black Street's sphere of influence and entered a luxurious entertainment club from the back door. 2 of his subordinates carried Old K up to the 10th floor of the building through a secret passageway and entered a room. The room was decorated very luxuriously and looked very unique. The entire wall facing the outside was made of crystal. From the outside, one could clearly see the situation inside. Not only that, but it also used the principles of physics to magnify the image. Even from the ground floor, one could clearly see what was happening in the room. Old K's tragic fate had just begun. Come and see. Hongsha 866. Chapter 63. Although he was bleeding all over, his vitals weren't injured, so he was still conscious and knew that he was taken away. He weakly said, "Sir, thank you for saving me. I will repay you. Can I trouble you to inform my brothers?" Jiang Dao bent down to look at him, a strange smile appearing on his face. "You don't have to repay me because I didn't save you. But don't worry, I won't let you die. When a person dies, there's no more pain, so there's no more fun. On the contrary, I'll let you live well." This was also the intention of the Beiteng family head. Old K's eyes widened in horror. Jiang Dao straightened up and said condescendingly, "Oda, Keikun likes sex and torture. Find a few people to play with him. 3 is too little, make it 5. I hope Keikun will like our hospitality. F***CK you little Japanese, kill me if you have the ability. What are you doing? Let me go." Painful and angry cries rang out incessantly. Old K was tied to the oversized iron bed. 5 men as strong as gorillas walked in. With every step they took, the floor of the room seemed to shake twice. The 5 men were all naked, with only a small piece of cloth covering their lower bodies. The cloth was bulging, and they all had lecherous smiles on their faces as they stared greedily at the body that was still bleeding on the bed. Crash! A man pulled open the curtain covering the crystal wall. Another 2 men dragged the tightly tied Old K to the table closest to the crystal wall. His hands that were tied behind his back were pressed tightly against the table, and his upper body was laid flat on the table. Then he separated his legs, folded them upside down, and tied them to the 2 legs of the table on his shoulders. Old K's buttocks were raised high, exposing his most private part to the crystal wall. "Perform well. Your every move will be projected on the crystal wall for everyone on the street to see." Jiang Dao's cold voice came from outside the room. Old K could see the building on the opposite side of his face. A man pounced on him and pried open his buttocks. A second man forced his mouth open. A third, there was also a sound system installed in the room, recording all the voices of the people downstairs. "Ah, my God, what's with that strange wall? Is it a new electronic screen? What's with the heavy movie playing on the screen? That little bottom is so despicable. He's clearly in so much pain, yet he's still seducing the 5 little top guys. Oh, 6p. However, the characters here don't seem to have any beauty. The man below is covered in blood, and the 5 men are too majestic." A lot of mocking and teasing words were transmitted to Old K's ears through the sound system. He was so ashamed that he wanted to bang his head against the wall, but they wouldn't give him the chance. The 5 of them were like machines, torturing him over and over again. Blood mixed with the white and murky liquid sprayed everywhere. His body, hair, face, and mouth were all covered with that kind of fishy, pungent liquid. Old K's body had been injected with a strong aphrodisiac. He was clearly in great pain, but he still couldn't help but twist his body to accommodate their movements. The 5 men's mission was to humiliate Old K. Not only did they want to ravage him, but they also wanted to make him reach the height of his shame and sweep his dignity into the trash can. Death became his most extravagant wish. He was now in a situation where he couldn't live, but neither could he die. In the end, he couldn't bear the inhumane torture and wanted to bite his tongue to commit suicide. However, the men were 1 step ahead of him and knocked out all his teeth. Old K screamed in despair. Reality proved that his despair was correct. From then on, he embarked on the path of selling chrysanthemums. Even though Old K's fate was so miserable, he still didn't betray Su Yunqian. This was because his trump card was in Su Yunqian's hands. If he didn't want his family to die with him, he had to keep his mouth shut. Jiang Dao was under Mika Kito's orders to punish Old K, so he didn't tell Xia Xiaobao the truth. After all, some things weren't suitable for children. Therefore, Xia Xiaobao didn't know that Old K had embarked on the path of selling chrysanthemums. He heard from Jiang Dao that Old K was killed by people from the Black Street. Someone was 1 step ahead of us and punished Old K. When our people arrived, he was already dead. In fact, Old K was later sold to Africa to dig gold mines and sell chrysanthemums as a part-time job. Xia Xiaobao frowned. Who are they? I heard that it's the Dragon Gang, the most mysterious and largest gang in a city. We haven't found out any details yet. The only thing we're sure of is that they aren't hostile to us. Xiao Zhao's voice sounded young, but it was very majestic. A strong dragon can't suppress a local snake. Don't be too ostentatious for the time being. In the future, don't act rashly without my orders. We'll make plans after Uncle Shen comes over. Yes. Don't tell my mommy about this. This subordinate understands. Xia Dong went to work like an ordinary white-collar worker. She had no idea that such a big thing had happened behind her back until Bailey Han called her. On the phone, Bailey Han said, "The people who hurt you at the Grand Hyatt Hotel have been dealt with. Use your brain more in the future. Don't be as stupid as a pig and jump into the hole that others dug for you." Hey, how can you say that? Xia Dong was about to protest when Bailey Han hung up on her. What's wrong with this person? Is there something wrong with his brain? Before she could finish criticizing him, a piece of news on the internet caught her attention. Blackstreet gang members fight, gang leader gets stabbed 100 times, blood flows on the streets. She clicked on it and saw that the gang leader of the Yen Gang, Old K, had been hacked to death by people on the Blackstreet. Then, the news detailed Old K's crimes over the years. It was said that he was involved in murder, arson, rape, and robbery. It could only be said that this guy deserved it. Xia Dong sighed. Good people have good karma, bad people also have bad karma to deal with. She didn't take it to heart and didn't know that this matter had something to do with her. In the afternoon, Bailey Yun called to ask her to play golf on Saturday. She thought that she had nothing to do on Saturday and that it would be good to go out and relax, so she set a time to meet up. The weather on Saturday was very good. Xia Dong sent the two children to her aunt's house and drove to the resort. She didn't know that the person she couldn't avoid was waiting for her at an unexpected place. The people from the resort led her to the golf course. From afar, she saw Bai Liyun, who was dressed in sportswear, holding a golf club in his hand. He faced the golf ball and swung it elegantly. On the endless lawn, the ball slowly went into the hole. Xia Dong smiled and clapped. Nice shot. Bailey Yun turned to look at her. She was wearing a sportswear with short sleeves and a short skirt that exposed her knees. Her long hair was tied up in a ponytail. She looked fresh and cute, like a lively high school girl. Bailey Han raised his eyebrows and whistled, not hiding his admiration for her figure. His slender foxy eyes were full of smiles. Do you want to compete? Forget it. Xia Dong waved her hand. I'm just a rookie. I don't dare to compete with an expert like you. Otherwise, I'll lose badly. She held the golf club with both hands and swung it at the ball. She had the demeanor of a female general, but unfortunately, the ball went too far and hit Bailey Yun's ball. Bailey Yun was convulsing with laughter. Xia, you're such a genius. You actually hit my ball. How did you manage to deviate so far from the track? You're simply too talented, huh? Xia Dong shrugged nonchalantly. You're funny. This is just my normal performance. If you're interested, I can teach you. It's a free kiss. Haha. Bai Liyun hugged his stomach and burst into laughter. He wanted to roll around on the grass. Xia, you're so cute. All my troubles are gone when I see you. You're the happiest person in my life. All right, seeing that I can eliminate your worries, shouldn't you provide me with a reward? She looked at him with a smile. She stretched out her hand and spread it open. It was obvious that she was up to no good. He crossed his arms and took 2 steps back vigilantly. He shouted exaggeratedly, "What do you want to do? I'll make it clear in advance. I sell my skills, not my body." Xia Dong rolled her eyes. Don't worry. I'm very kind. I won't force you to do such inhumane things. Then what do you want as a reward? She blinked. Teach me how to play. Master, please accept a bow from your disciple. She put down the baseball bat, clasped her hands together, and bowed respectfully. Well said. My good disciple, Bring me a drink first. Bailey Yun shamelessly began to exercise his authority as a master. Alright, wait for me, master. Xia Dong ran to the rest area. Her ponytail swayed behind her back. She was so youthful and beautiful. Bailey Yun's smile widened. Master, take a look at what you like. Pick whatever you want. Xia Dong ran back with a pile of drinks and stuffed them all into his arms. Bailey Yun's mouth twitched. He casually picked a bottle and handed it to her. Thank you, master. With a bright smile and a clear voice, Bailey Yun began to feel guilty for ordering her around. He coughed twice and said, take a break for a few minutes. Then repeat what you did just now. I'll see what the problem is. Okay, master. She rubbed his shoulders obsequiously. Thank you for your hard work, master. All right, stop flattering me. I have a creepy feeling. Xia, you're not playing any tricks, are you? Bailey Yun shrugged his shoulders in disgust. Master, I'm too sad to hear you say that. I just want to respect you and be filial to you. She pouted her red lips and said pitifully. Stop. The word filial came out. He wailed and raised his hands in surrender. I give up. I apologize. I shouldn't have laughed at your terrible skills. Put away your weak and helpless expression. It really doesn't suit you. Well said. She smiled and patted his shoulder. The next issue of our magazine's exclusive interview is with the popular female star Lin Weiwei. The magazine discussed it with her agent but was rejected. I remember that you have a close relationship with her. Can you help her? Hey, you didn't agree to play golf with me because of this, did you? Bailey Yun glared at her unhappily. How could that be? I'm more than happy to have the handsome and suave second young master ask me out. How could I have such impure thoughts? She blinked innocently. So, you can help, okay? Okay. It's just a matter of a phone call. Bailey Yun really didn't know what to do with her. He handed the club to her in a bad mood. Let's play. Welfare, Song Shu 566. Chapter 64. She smiled as she swung her golf club. This time, her golf ball didn't collide with someone else's ball. Instead, it flew far away and hit the person who was playing in the distance. That person's shoulder was hit and he naturally turned around. Then, Xia Dong had the urge to throw herself on the ground. Bailey Han. Damn it. Who could tell her why Bailey Han was here? Of course, Bailey Han saw her as well. His obsidian-like eyes flashed with complicated emotions. He said a few words to his partners who were playing basketball with him, then walked over to Xia Dong and the others. Xia Dong covered her face. She didn't want to see anyone. Bailey Yun's hand landed on her shoulder and he sighed. Just based on your golf skills, I'm deeply ashamed. Bailey Yun. If you mock me again, I'll bite you to death. Bailey Han was walking over. He was walking towards them. She was already very frustrated, but this guy was still adding fuel to the fire. Bailey Yun looked meaningfully at the person who was walking towards them. His lips curled into a faint smile. Don't worry, I'm here. Besides, I only hit him. He won't go so far as to kill you. Sob. Give me a piece of tofu and I'll just kill myself. Bailey Han was wearing a set of white sportswear. The bright color made him look less cold and hard than usual. Instead, he looked more casual and at ease. Taking advantage of the endless lawn, he slowly walked over. It really did give off the feeling of an orchids and jade trees. However, his voice was as cold as ever. Your ball. There was no expression on his face. His deep black eyes looked at Xia Dong. He stretched out his arm and slowly opened his palm. In his palm was the golf ball that she had just hit. So, he wasn't here to pick a fight, but to return the ball? Xia Dong's brain instantly stopped working. Thank you. She reached out to take the ball from his palm. Her fingers brushed across his palm, and he immediately felt a numb feeling flowing through his palm. His heart tightened, and he quickly grasped her hand, wrapping her hand in his palm as well. Xia Dong's body stiffened. She tried to pull her hand away but couldn't. Bailey Yun took a step forward and put his arm around her waist in a protective posture. There was an apologetic smile on his face. Brother, Xia's golf skills aren't good. She didn't mean to hit you. Please forgive her. Yes, it was an accident. I'm sorry. Please let go of me. Bailey Han looked at Bailey Yun's hand around her waist. Xia Dong. Bailey Han, stop right there. Bailey Han pulled her forward a few steps and finally stopped. Right here. I'll teach you how to play. Let go. I don't need you to teach me. I already have a master. Xia Dong used her left hand to pry his hand away. Brother, Xia has already acknowledged me as her master. I won't trouble you anymore. Bailey Yun followed over. He had a smile on his face, but his eyes were cold. Bailey Han's aura became even colder. He glared daggers at Xia Dong. Since you hit me, you have to apologize. I've already apologized. You're not sincere enough. I won't accept it. What do you want? Xia Dong didn't understand what was wrong with him. Learn from me until the ball goes into the hole without hitting anyone. I'm responsible for your lethality. He crossed his arms and looked at her coldly. You're joking, right? I've never joked. Hold the cue stick. He didn't wait for her to refute. He pushed the cue stick into her arms and ordered coldly, start now. She was angry and glared at him. Why should I listen to you? He said leisurely, because your ball hit me. As the victim, I have the right to ask for compensation. Bailey Yun blocked him. Brother, Xia has already said that she's not willing. Don't force her. Two equally outstanding men, one on the left and one on the right, stood opposite Xia Dong, staring at each other with murderous gazes. She could almost feel the electric currents converging in the air, and she, who was sandwiched in the middle, felt immense pressure. She quietly took a step back with her right foot and retreated. Bailey Han grabbed her waist and said casually, "Deserted island." Xia Dong immediately froze. This despicable iceberg man actually threatened her. But she just had to be threatened by him. Bailey Han said again, "Did I force you?" She smiled stiffly. "No, why would you?" "Since you didn't, let's start. Relax your body, put your right hand here, and put your left foot like this." Bailey Han completely ignored Bailey Yun and guided her movements seriously. Bailey Yun was furious. He glared at Xia Dong with disappointment. Xia Dong smiled at Bailey Yun to please him. Before her smile was complete, Bailey Han turned her cheek away. "Focus when you're playing." Bai Li Yun angrily threw the cue stick and left. She sat in the rest area and watched as that person placed his hand on her waist and helped her to correct her posture. She watched as he held her arm and helped her swing the cue stick. Bai Li Yun was so angry that he threw the ball and turned to leave. He drove his flashy car and sped away like a gust of wind. Bailey Han saw Bailey Yun explode in anger from the corner of his eyes. The corners of his lips curled up and he leaned closer to her. Unknowingly, his voice became gentle. "Hold the cue stick like this. Look over here and aim." "Very good." Xia Dong took a step back according to the method he taught her. She accidentally stepped on his foot and quickly apologized. "I'm sorry." When she turned around, she realized that the two of them were so close that she could feel his body temperature and hear his heartbeat. Almost instinctively, Bailey Han hugged the woman in his arms. When he realized what he had done, Xia Dong had already raised her hand and slapped him. "I'm sorry. I suddenly remembered that I still have something to do. I'll leave first." Xia Dong didn't dare to look at his livid face and ran away. When she ran far away, she suddenly remembered that her things were still on the court and ran back. Bailey Han was still standing in the same place. There was no expression on his face, but the murderous aura that he released made the people around him afraid to come close. Xia Dong rushed over and grabbed her things. She laughed awkwardly and was about to sneak away again when he grabbed her wrist. "You hit me and you want to leave just like that? What else can I do? Do you want me to stay and wait for your revenge? Treat me to afternoon tea." He said that he wanted her to treat him, but he didn't give her any time to answer. He grabbed her wrist and left. She shouted anxiously from behind, "Fine, I'll treat you. I won't go back on my word. Please don't run so fast, okay?" When she was dragged into Bailey Han's Rolls-Royce, Xia Dong was already out of breath. "Bailey Han, what do you want?" Afternoon tea, he answered calmly. Buckle your seatbelt. Xia Dong didn't have the strength to complain and buckled her seatbelt. The Rolls-Royce drove out of the resort. Bailey Han said, "Let's go to the top of the mountain. Let's go to the shallow beach. You can see the sunset there." Since she couldn't avoid the fate of having afternoon tea with him, she should at least choose a place that she liked. The host is treating. Of course we choose a place that the guest likes, he retorted lightly. Since the host is footing the bill, why can't the host have the final say? We'll go to the shallow beach today. We'll go to the top of the mountain next time when you treat. He suddenly turned to look at her. Are you hinting that I can ask you out for tea another day? I'm just saying. Don't take it seriously. Bailey Han smiled slightly and changed their destination. He drove to the shallow beach and found a quiet and elegant tea house. The tea house was close to the sea. Standing in the corridor, they could feel the sea breeze and hear the sound of the tide. They chose a table near the balcony. A beautiful woman in a cheongsam ordered tea elegantly and blended into the surrounding atmosphere. It was indeed very comfortable. Xia Dong relaxed and leaned into the soft chair. She politely tried to find a topic to talk about. Why are you at the golf course? To accompany a business partner. Xia Dong was speechless. You just left him like that? Ever since he came to find trouble with her with the ball, he hadn't gone back. What an irresponsible jerk. He glanced at her indifferently. I told him that I had to deal with some personal matters. Oh, after that, the two of them fell silent. He suddenly said, "The pillow is very comfortable." That's good. I went to many shops to find it. According to the shop owner, the amount of stuffing in this pillow has been scientifically calculated, and it's the most ergonomic. After the gift was approved, she happily talked about her shopping experience. Help me buy 5 more. I want to give them to my family. Did he think she was a purchasing agent? How much did you spend? Report to me and I'll return it to you tenfold. He really thought she was a purchasing agent. Grandpa, Grandma, my parents and my son, 1 each. Wait, sorry to interrupt. Mr. Bailey, I can give you the contact number of the shop directly. You can get your assistant to buy it. I believe in your taste. He took a sip of tea with a calm expression. But don't you think it's troublesome? I don't think so. He looked as though it was only right. Of course you don't think so. Because I'm the troublesome one. She gritted her teeth. He smiled. Then I'll have to trouble you. In return, I'll treat you to tea next time. You don't have to force yourself. Really, I think we can keep a distance and not do anything that will cause misunderstandings. He looked at her in surprise. Miss Xia, why would you have such a strange idea? Isn't it normal for friends to help each other? She wanted to bang her head on the table. She never knew that he had such a rogue side. He smiled. Any other questions? I'll send it to your office next Monday. She had a bitter expression on her face and her tone was full of resentment. Miraculously, he felt very happy. The depression that had accumulated at the golf course was all swept away. As an emotional single-celled animal, Bailey Han didn't hesitate to interpret his happiness as the thrill of revenge. Who asked her to hit his shoulder with her lousy golf skills? As for asking her to treat him to afternoon tea, that was purely to make up for it. Young master didn't define this behavior as pestering or any similar words. Although she was forced, Xia Dong still put in a lot of effort when choosing the pillows. She chose a pair of white-haired old men with youthful faces for the old madam and old master. She chose a misty rain painting in Jiangnan by Jinxiu. She chose a landscape painting in early autumn for Bailey Xiong. The pillow she chose for Bailey Han's son was a mother cat holding a baby cat with a large English letter, love, on the back. Beauty novel, Song Shu 566. Chapter 65. On Monday, Bailey Han looked up at the door of his office every hour or two. It was not until the afternoon that his secretary knocked on his office door with a big box in her arms. There were 5 pillows, and all of them were very beautiful, especially the one for his son. Bailey Han regretted not getting one more for himself. Although he already had one in his office, he could have gotten another one to use at home. Xia Dong had just finished a meeting when her phone rang. It was Bailey Han. My family likes the pillows you chose. To express my gratitude, I'll treat you to dinner tonight. Do you have time? Xia Dong raised her eyebrows. I don't have time tonight, tomorrow night, or even Friday night. She had to go home to accompany her son and daughter. How could she have time to accompany him? It's okay. I'll make an appointment for Saturday. His attitude was so good that there was nothing to say. There was no sign of anger at all. This made Xia Dong panic. Could it be that he wanted to pursue her? No, that's not right. He already has a fiancée. Then why was he playing tricks to get back at her? Okay. She gritted her teeth. Before she was completely sure that she was pregnant, she couldn't be too ruthless. It was as if Bailey Han had been possessed. He was a completely different person. He was so gentlemanly and polite. After she entered the dining room, he even pulled out a chair for her. When they were eating, he even carefully put food in her bowl. Xia Dong ate as if she was sitting on pins and needles. She couldn't understand what he was thinking at all. Indeed, an icy face suited him better. A week later, Xia Dong felt that she could finally be free. Because she was pregnant. For the sake of caution, she deliberately used 5 pregnancy test kits. The test results all showed that she was pregnant. Her efforts had finally paid off. Xia Dong happily told Yi Siki the good news. She hugged her son and daughter and kissed them fiercely. Babies, Mommy will take you out for a picnic this weekend. She had been busy with borrowing seeds and hadn't played with the children in a long time. Okay. Mommy is the best. Xiao Guai hugged her neck and cheered. Mom, did you pick up money on the street? Did you get a raise? Got a promotion? Or did you win a prize? Xiao Bao asked with a doubtful look on his face. Xia Dong giggled. No. Mommy just wants to go out and play with you. She had another plan, and that was to kick Bailey Han out of the picture. No matter what his motive was, he would definitely not get close to her in the future after seeing her worst side. Xia Dong arranged to meet at a bar. She was wearing a sexy spaghetti strap dress, heavy makeup, and a wine-red wig as she appeared in front of Bailey Han. She leaned on his arm flirtatiously and said in a coquettish voice, Hey, handsome, why are you here alone? Do you want me to have a drink with you? Bailey Han looked at her coldly and let her hand wander from his shoulder to his chest without saying a word. Handsome, since you're not saying anything, I'll take it as a yes. She smiled flirtatiously and pushed a glass of wine in front of him. She pouted her sexy lips and said coquettishly, Come on, let's have a drink, okay? Xia Dong, what are you doing? Bailey Han suddenly said and pushed her away from his lap. Oh, you recognized me. She blinked her large eyes and smiled flirtatiously. This is my true appearance. Do you like it? He spat out 2 words indifferently, boring. The smile on Xia Dong's face was about to crack. She clenched her fists fiercely. Okay, it seemed like she had to use her trump card. She smiled and raised her eyebrows. Since you think I'm boring, then I won't be an eyesore here. I'll go find some fun myself. She swayed her slender waist and walked to the middle of the dance floor flirtatiously. A handsome man immediately walked in front of her and said with a smile, Hey baby, why haven't I seen you around recently? She leaned on the man like a koala and looked at him flirtatiously. Because I've been too busy recently. Baby, did you miss me? Of course, it's not just me. The other handsome men in the nightclub missed you too. The handsome man hugged her slender waist. The 2 of them were almost stuck together and danced to the music. In the middle of the dance floor, the couple's bodies were tightly pressed together. Bailey Han noticed that the man's palm was supporting her waist and another hand was rubbing her back. As for her, she was looking at him tenderly, as if she was looking at her lover. After the dance, the handsome man kissed her cheek. Then, another handsome man went on stage. Bailey Han, who was watching from the side, couldn't stand it anymore. Good for you, Xia Dong. Not only were you flirting with other men, you even danced. Not only did you dance, but you even changed to a second, a third, and a fourth. Do you still have any integrity? The wine in the wine glass seemed to have turned into a bitter liquid. It tasted terrible. Bailey Han was very irritated. The music was so loud that it gave him a headache. The usually calm and rational young Master Bailey didn't care about his image and rushed to the dance floor with a fierce face. He grabbed Xiaodong's wrist and said, "That's enough. Come with me." Xiaodong flung his hand away and shouted angrily, "What right do you have to control me? You're not my boyfriend nor my husband. What right do you have to control me?" Her shout was especially loud. Everyone on the dance floor fell silent and focused their attention on the two of them. Bailey Han's face darkened. His handsome face was cold and he stared at her with a sharp gaze. "Say that again?" Xiaodong raised her chin. "Say it again then. Who's afraid of who? You're not my boyfriend nor my husband. What right do you have to control me? What right do you have, Bailey Han abruptly pulled her into his embrace and used his mouth to block her chattering little mouth. Wow, the people around them were shocked. His anger was transmitted through this kiss. He sucked and bit her lips fiercely until he tasted blood in his mouth. Only then did he soften his actions. After the initial shock, Xiaodong stomped on his foot heavily, but he nimbly dodged it. She bit his lips fiercely again, but he still didn't let go. Her right elbow struck his ribs fiercely. This time, he finally let go of her. "Bastard, are you king addicted?" Xiaodong didn't care about her image and scolded him loudly. She threw a left hook at his cheek. "Ka!" He suddenly grabbed her wrist, his eyes burning with anger. "If you continue to mess around, I'll use the same method to shut you up." Wow, a group of infatuated women made a sound. They even whispered among themselves, "That man is so manly. I want him too." Xiaodong rolled her eyes in her heart and sneered. "If you're rude to me again, I'll sue you for sexual assault. Young master, don't forget that you have a fiancé. Although I like handsome guys, I don't like handsome guys who are taken. So, please don't pester me in the future." She flung his hand away forcefully and walked away in her 10-centimeter high heels. "So he's a married man. Sigh, what a pity." Bailey Han's entire body exploded with a ruthless aura. His eyes were cold and his malicious eyes swept across the crowd. The people around him immediately scattered like birds and beasts. God, this man was too scary. That damned woman. No one had ever dared to speak to him like that. She actually despised him. Damn it. How could he like her? A woman like her who seduced men everywhere, he would find her dirty even if she was given to him. She had completely forgotten who had hugged and kissed her just now. After Yi Siki heard Xiaodong's story of dumping him, she mercilessly knocked her on the forehead. "Aren't you going overboard? You just had a good time with him and now you're turning your back on him. This is a classic example of irresponsible behavior." Xiaodong shrank into the sofa. "I'm not. I'm doing this for his own good. I don't want to ruin his relationship with Su Yunqian." Yi Siki gave her a look that said, "Go ahead and *T. All right, I admit it. It's mainly for me and the children. I don't care if he's really forgotten or if he doesn't remember what happened 5 years ago. I don't want him to find out about Xiao Bao and Xiao Guai and snatch them away from me." Yi Siki rolled her eyes. "Haven't you thought of snatching him away and reuniting your family of 4? Xiaodong shouted exaggeratedly, "Sis, it's still daytime and you're already dreaming? Firstly, I don't want to get married. Secondly, what kind of person is Bailey Han? Why would he marry someone like me? Firstly, you don't want to get married because you haven't met someone you want to marry. Who knows, maybe Bailey Han is that person. Secondly, someone like you? What's wrong with someone like you? You're a high-class white-collar worker with an annual salary of a few $100,000. You can support yourself and your children. You're beautiful and capable. Only an idiot wouldn't fall for you." Yi Siki retorted in disappointment. Xiaodong hugged her and grinned as she rubbed her face against hers. "That's because you're my friend. That's why you can see the good in me. But Bailey's family is so rich that they can rival a country. They want to marry a daughter from a wealthy family. Would they marry a commoner like me? It's not impossible for a sparrow to turn into a phoenix. Aren't there many commoner women among the British princesses? Xia Dong blinked. That's just an example. It can't be promoted as the truth. Yi Siki poked her arm and smiled slyly. What about Bailey Yun? I think he's very interested in you. Didn't he ask you out to play golf some time ago? Spare me. I only treat him as a good friend. Moreover, he's Bailey Han's younger brother. If I really develop feelings for him, it'll be so awkward. He's such a handsome and rich eligible bachelor. How can you not be moved by him? Yi Siki held her forehead speechlessly. Oh my God, you're wasting God's gift. I really wonder if you like women. Xia Dong smiled sinisterly. Then aren't you in danger? Yi Siki hugged her chest and stepped back. Sorry, I already have a husband and a child. I'm determined not to be gay with you. Xia Dong's expression turned serious. She said in all seriousness, anyway, I won't get married. Dear, let's not talk about this anymore, okay? Yi Siki froze. Xia Dong narrowed her eyes. I'm planning to take the children out for a picnic and fly kites this weekend. Do you want to come along? Sure. But my old Lin has an operation this weekend, so he can't go with us. I know your gynecologist is very busy. Let's not make things difficult for him. Take your Nyonyo and my 2 little guys to the suburbs this weekend. Since there were women and children, Xia Dong didn't dare to take everyone to the mountains. She drove the car to the suburbs highway. About 500 meters away from the highway was a wide lawn with lush trees, a gurgling river, and unknown wildflowers blooming on the lawn. The scenery was quite beautiful. Xiao Guai and Nyonyo were like wild horses that had escaped their reins, running around happily on the lawn. Ad, Shinmu 799. Chapter 66. Xia Dong was worried about Xiao Guai's health, so she reminded her to run slower and not fall. Xia Dong and Yi Siki kept an eye on the child as they laid out a tablecloth on the grass and placed the food they brought from home on the tablecloth. There were steak, fried chicken legs, prawns, fish fillets, vegetable salad, fruits, and many other snacks. While they were having fun, a Rolls-Royce stopped not far away. A handsome man in casual clothes stepped out, followed by a little boy in sportswear. Xia Dong was the first to see them. When her gaze fell on Bailey Han, she was stunned. She turned to look at the little boy behind him, and her face suddenly turned pale. Bailey Han's son was actually him, Bailey Yi. She was an idiot. They both had the same surname, Bailey, and they were both so outstanding. Why didn't she think of it? Yi Siki asked, Little Xia, what's wrong? Why do you look so pale all of a sudden? Bailey Han is here, and his son. Yi Siki turned around to take a look, then quickly turned around and put his hand on her shoulder. It's okay, don't be nervous. Didn't you say that in front of outsiders, the children should call you auntie? They're so smart. As long as you remind them, they'll understand. No, you don't understand. It's not just because of that. Xia Dong's heart began to turn cold. Her eyes were filled with desolation and helplessness as she muttered, He hates me. He hates me very much. He hates me for abandoning him. She would never forget Bailey Yi's lonely expression in the zoo, and the words he said. She knew that he hated her. Yi Siki looked at the helpless Xia Dong, and his heart ached. He hugged her and patted her back gently as he whispered, Little Xia, don't be like this. You still have Xiao Guai and Xiao Bao. Enemies were bound to meet on a narrow road. They were already in the suburbs, yet they still bumped into each other. Yes, I still have Xiao Guai and Xiao Bao. I can't do this. Xia Dong gradually calmed down. When she was ready to face them, Bailey Han and Bailey Yi had already walked past them. The father and son walked towards the empty lawn with the same cold expression. They looked straight ahead and did not even look at her. A large group of people followed behind them. Soon, servants held up umbrellas above their heads. Servants also set up folding chairs, tables, and food. Brother, it's Brother Yi. Is that handsome uncle next to him his daddy? Xiao Guai tugged at her brother's arm curiously. Xiao Bao also noticed them. Her eyes were fixed on the father and son. Her small lips pursed, hiding her anger. They actually dared to appear in front of Mommy. This was too much. Bailey E sat under the umbrella as the nanny served him attentively. Bailey Han looked around and then walked towards the river. His assistant, Lu Zihao, followed behind him with a document in his hand. As he walked, he read, "President, the survey results show that the lawn has a total area of 2,400 square meters. The lawn is 560 meters away from the road and 278. 9 meters away from the river. What do you think about building a water park here?" Bailey Han suddenly turned around and asked him, "Will it be too far from the city?" Generally, amusement parks were built in the city with convenient transportation. This area has already been planned as the outer development circle of the city. Otherwise, I wouldn't have spent 20 million to buy this land. In addition, within a year, 2 highways will be diverted here, so transportation will be more convenient. Bailey Han had bought this land, but he had not decided what to do with it. His son's plan for the amusement park made his eyes light up. He brought his son along to inspect the site to see if it was suitable. The result was satisfactory. Building a water park was very practical. After telling Lu Zihao some things, he stood alone by the water and thought about things. From time to time, he heard the laughter of children. He knew that it was the child that Xia Dong and her friend had brought. He did not turn his head to look. He wanted to ignore everything about her and not let her control his emotions. However, Bailey E, who was sitting alone under the umbrella, could not help but look at them. They were flying a kite. Xiao Guai was holding the kite from behind, while Xia Xiaobao was running in front. When the kite was in the sky, he handed the string to her. "Brother is so nice," Xiao Guai giggled. Her crisp laughter echoed on the quiet lawn. She opened her palm and gave the chocolate in her hand to Xia Xiaobao. "Brother, this is your favorite chocolate. I saved it for you." Xia Xiaobao touched her soft hair. Nyonyo ran over with a pastry and stuffed a piece into each of their mouths. The 3 children pointed at the pastry crumbs on each other's faces and laughed. Hearing their joyous laughter, Bailey Yi's little face was expressionless, but his clear eyes revealed a hint of admiration. When Bailey Han came back, he saw this scene. He touched his head. "Didn't you bring a net to catch butterflies? Daddy will catch butterflies with you." Bailey E wanted to make a butterfly specimen, so he took the opportunity to go out with his father and brought a net to catch butterflies. Bailey Han rolled up his sleeves. Even though he was holding a net, his movements were as elegant as a European aristocrat. Xia Dong watched Bailey E run around with a small net from afar. Bailey Han smiled and said something. His little face puffed up and showed an unconvinced expression. She couldn't help but guess what Bailey Han said to make him show such a cute expression. She felt a little sad. Since he was born, she had never hugged him or taken care of him for a minute. No wonder he resented her. "Mommy, what's wrong? Your eyes are red." At some point, Xiao Guai had sat down beside Xia Dong and worriedly asked, "Mommy is fine. Just now, a little bug flew into Mommy's eyes." She quickly wiped the corners of her eyes and said with a smile, "Mommy, let me help you blow." Xiao Guai raised her head seriously. Her chubby little hands held her cheeks and gently blew on her eyes. Xia Dong smiled and blinked. "The little bug is out. Mommy is fine. Baby is amazing." "Xiao Guai, do you remember what Mommy said before? In front of outsiders, you have to call Mommy aunt. If someone asks, you have to say Mommy is your aunt. Do you understand?" Yes, I still remember, aunt." "Good girl." Her heart trembled and she hugged her daughter tightly in her arms. From beginning to end, Bailey Han didn't look at Xia Dong and the others. He quickly caught 2 beautiful butterflies, but Bailey didn't catch any. He smiled and teased his son. "So there are things my son is not good at." Bailey puffed up his cheeks angrily and stared with his big eyes. "Daddy, I'm only 4 years old. When I'm as tall as you, I'll definitely be more capable than you." Bailey Han found his puffed-up cheeks very interesting and couldn't help but pinch them. The smile in his eyes widened. Bailey Han's son, is naturally very capable. Of course. Bailey raised his chin coolly, looking insufferably arrogant. Bailey Han laughed. This was the first time he laughed openly in front of everyone. The servants looked as if they had seen a ghost. Bailey also had an expression of, wow, so it can be like this. Bailey Han didn't take his son's surprise seriously. He directly picked him up from the ground and said, Xiao Yi, do you want to try throwing me high? His son's eyes widened even more. Throwing me high? Is this what many fathers do in TV dramas? It was as if he was facing a sacred ceremony and he nodded cautiously. Don't worry, I'm here. I won't let you get hurt, he said comfortingly and then threw him up. Bailey bit his lip and didn't scream. His little face was full of surprise. Xia Dong, who had been secretly watching them, almost went into shock. She jumped up from the ground. Fortunately, Yi Siki held her hand. Little Xia, don't be agitated. Bailey Han caught his son steadily. Xia Dong sighed in relief. Yi Siki sighed. I think we should go back first. If this goes on, you'll definitely not be able to resist rushing up. Xia Dong didn't say anything. She watched as Bailey Han tossed her son up and down and caught him steadily. Her heart also went up and down, rising and falling unsteadily. By the time Bailey Han and his son finished the game, Xia Dong and the others had already left and were walking on the road. He couldn't help but wonder what the relationship between her and the two children who were so close to her was. No, he had decided not to care about her anymore. No matter what she did, it had nothing to do with him. In less than a month of pregnancy, Xia Dong began to have pregnancy symptoms. She retched and felt nauseous. Fortunately, she hid it well and didn't arouse suspicion. On this day, Xiao Tianxing called to invite her to a barbecue party at his ranch on the weekend. When she heard that Bailey Han and Su Yunqian were also going, she immediately declined. Xiao Tianxing said with a smile, Yun already expected that you would refuse, so he asked me to tell you that if you don't come, he will ask Lin Weiwei to refuse the interview with your magazine. Xia Dong smiled bitterly. It seems that I have no choice but to accept. Please help me tell Bailey Yun that I despise his despicable behavior. Xiao Tianxing laughed. Don't worry, I will definitely pass on this sentence. After work on Friday, Bailey Yun drove his flashy red sports car, holding a large bouquet of perfumed lilies to Xia Dong's downstairs to pick her up. Bailey Yun rarely wore formal suits. He usually wore casual clothes, but today he wore an expensive handmade suit for the first time. The high-grade silver made his figure very tall and straight. He gentlemanly sent the flowers and smiled. I came here to apologize to you. Miss Xia, please forgive my despicable behavior. Xia Dong raised her eyebrows in amusement. Do you think I can be bought with a bouquet of flowers? Of course not, so I have already booked a restaurant. I don't know if Miss Xia would like to honor me. Okay, which restaurant? Keep it a secret first. I promise you will be surprised. You are so mysterious. If I am not surprised, I will embarrass you. His charming fox eyes were full of smiles. Don't worry, I am full of confidence. Get in the car. What about my car? Give me the key, I will ask my friend to help you drive it back. Bailey Yun made a phone call. In less than 5 minutes, a young handsome man riding a motorcycle rushed over. He threw the key to the handsome man. Asin, this is my girlfriend's car. Be careful, the address is... Don't worry, I will definitely send the car back to sister-in-law completely. I will put the key in the security room of the community. The handsome man called Asin waved to the two and drove away. Hey, when did I become your girlfriend? Don't talk nonsense. Xia Dong waited for Bailey Yun's friend to leave and began to settle accounts. Welfare, Xinwu 799. Chapter 67. I'm just trying to make Asin pay more attention to you. Don't be angry, I'll take you to eat something delicious later. Appa, you've watched too many Korean dramas. Ha, Xia, you're so cute. Get lost. The sports car drove from the city to the suburbs, and then from the suburbs to the mountain road. The sky was already dark, and the car was still winding around the mountainside. Xia Dong joked. Are you taking me to the wilderness in Strange Tales from a Chinese studio? Bailey Yun laughed. Don't worry, There are no fox spirits or female ghosts in painted skin here. We'll be there soon. After driving for more than 10 minutes, they finally arrived at their destination. They were now at the top of the mountain, and there was a large lake here. The restaurant that Bailey Yun mentioned was built in the middle of the lake. To be exact, it was not a luxurious restaurant, but a quaint wooden house. The only way to the wooden house was a wooden bridge. Countless lotus lanterns were lit on the lake, and the whole restaurant seemed to be floating on the water. It was so beautiful that it surprised her. It's so beautiful. How did you find this place? Bailey Yun took her hand and walked onto the wooden bridge. The person who lives here is a friend I met in the United States. He used to run a Chinese restaurant in the United States, but he eventually returned to his hometown to retire. This is where he settled down. He pointed to the hillside opposite the lake for her to see. Over there is the villa that he built. This wooden house is the place where he entertains his friends when he's itching for skills. Walking into the wooden house, the decoration was very simple, but it was all very quaint. She could see the patterns on the wooden table and wooden chairs, and it made her feel relaxed and happy. A white-haired old man walked out from the inner room. His wrinkled face was peaceful. Yun, is this the lady you were talking about? Bailey Yun raised his eyebrows. Yes, Uncle Chen. I brought her here to see you. Of course, there's another reason, which is to freeload your food and drink. Xia Dong nodded politely. Uncle Chen, sorry to trouble you. Uncle Chen laughed. It's no trouble at all. Have a seat first, and the dishes will be served soon. After that, he beckoned a pretty girl to pour tea for them, and he went back into the room. After a while, the sumptuous dishes were served one by one. The tomato-stewed beef brisket with some coriander was very attractive in color. The milky white ginseng chicken soup emitted a fresh, sweet, and mellow aroma. There were also fresh and delicious stir-fried seasonal vegetables, which were verdant and tender, which aroused people's appetite and made them restless. Uncle Chen, aren't you joining us? Xia Dong stood aside with his hands behind his back when he saw Uncle Chen serving the dishes. I can't wait, there's a cake in the kitchen. Uncle Chen to them personally to serve them some sweet rice wine. Xia Dong smiled shyly. Sorry, I can't drink. I get drunk the moment I touch alcohol. Uncle Chen smiled kindly. This is Japanese rice wine. The alcohol content is very low. You won't get drunk if you drink a little. Bailey Yun seemed to have thought of something and laughed. Forget it, let's not persuade her to drink. Uncle Chen, you don't know, last time she got drunk, she pulled my brother and left. Xia Dong stopped him. Hey, don't say any more, it's too embarrassing. Young people, what are you afraid of? It's okay to be embarrassed. In one's life, it's only interesting to do things that are out of line a few times. Uncle Chen smiled and put away the wine. Yun, don't drink anymore, you still have to drive. Not sure if she was moved by Uncle Chen's words, but Xia Dong suddenly had the urge to try. She took a sip of the wine in the cup, the fragrance lingered in her mouth, and there was no smell of alcohol at all. Unknowingly, the cup of wine went down her stomach. She blinked and laughed. This is the first time in my life that I didn't get drunk after drinking. But your face is already red. Bailey Yun supported his head with one hand, admiring her red cheeks from the wine. At this moment, she was really beautiful. Her eyes were like treasures, and there was a faint mist in them. Her eyes flashed with an intoxicated luster. He couldn't help but reach out and use his finger to trace her delicate eyebrows, caressing her plump lips. Her eyes revealed surprise and uneasiness. He suddenly retracted his hand and smiled mischievously. How is it? Are you satisfied with the place I brought you to? She smiled and nodded, couldn't be more satisfied. Bam! The lights suddenly went out, and Uncle Chen's voice came from the quiet room. Let's welcome the last dessert. Under the cold moonlight, Uncle Chen walked out from the room with a cake in his hands, and the cake was lit with candles. Yun, happy birthday. Uncle Chen placed the cake on the table. Thank you, Uncle Chen. Bailey Yun's eyes flashed with a smile. He saw Xia Dong's shocked expression under the candlelight, and then she puffed her cheeks. Just when he thought she was going to be angry, she suddenly laughed again. So it's your birthday today. Happy birthday, I also want to give you a present. Bailey Yun was very curious. What present? She smiled and didn't answer. She turned to Uncle Chin. Uncle Chin, do you have any musical instruments here? Uncle Chen was a classical music enthusiast. I have an eru here. That's great. Can I borrow it? Of course. Uncle Chin took the eru. Bailey Yun watched as she took the eru, skillfully plucked the strings, and then tuned it. She tilted her head slightly and focused on the eru, as if she was about to start a sacred work. Her fingertips slowly plucked the strings, and just as the notes jumped a few bars, Uncle Chen became excited. It was a reflection of the moon. He didn't expect this little girl to play the eru, and what was even more incredible was that she played it so well. The ethereal music flowed slowly under the moonlight, and her fingertips gently slid between the strings. She lowered her eyes and focused on playing. The moonlight shone on her body, and she was as charming as the goddess of moonlight. Bailey Yun was intoxicated by her music, and his deep eyes watched her all the way until the song ended. She raised her head and smiled slowly. Bailey Yun, happy birthday. Thank you, this is the most special present I've ever received. His heart trembled, and he tried hard to suppress something in his voice. Uncle Chen was very excited. Xiao Xia, I didn't expect you to play the eru. There aren't many young people who know this nowadays. My uncle likes the eru very much, and under his influence, I learned it for 2 years. I haven't touched it in a long time, and my hands are a little rusty. I've embarrassed myself in front of Uncle Chen. You're too kind, you play it very well. It was getting late, and Uncle Chen asked them to stay for the night. However, Xia Dong didn't want the children to worry, so she insisted on going home. On the way back, the alcohol started to kick in, and Xia Dong felt a little dizzy. Walking on the wooden bridge was like walking on clouds. She put her hands behind her back and looked up at the night sky, taking light steps. Bailey Yun's heart skipped a beat when he saw this, and he quickly grabbed her arm. Xia Xia, watch your step. She turned back and giggled. I'm fine, I'm fine. Look, I can even dance. She stood on her toes and struck a classic ballet pose. She wanted to twirl around for him to see, but he grabbed her arm tightly and said helplessly, Okay, I know you're very good. Let's stop fooling around and go home, okay? Yes, let's go home. I miss Xiao Bao and Xiao Guai so much. Let's go quickly. She hugged his arm and giggled foolishly. Bailey Yun couldn't help but facepalm. Sure enough, he couldn't let her drink. Bailey Yun tied her to the seat with the seatbelt and patted her head. Xia Xia, I'm going to drive. Higai, don't move. Hurry up and drive. She grinned and laughed. Her rosy cheeks glowed seductively under the soft light, and her pure smile made him feel inexplicably happy. Her plump lips parted slightly, and his hand slowly moved from her head to her cheek. His eyes were filled with desire. It tickles. She laughed until her shoulders trembled. You naughty guy. His charming thoughts were broken by her laughter. He helplessly pinched her cheeks, exhaled a long breath, and started the car. The night scenery outside the car quickly passed by. The person beside him breathed steadily and slowly fell asleep. Bailey Yun occasionally glanced at her, and the smile in his eyes never disappeared. The car stopped in her neighborhood. Bailey Yun looked at her sleeping quietly and couldn't bear to wake her up. Suddenly, a pleasant ringtone sounded. She suddenly woke up, bounced up from the back of the seat, and rummaged around for her phone. Hello, baby. I'll be back soon. She picked up the phone and looked around. I'm already downstairs. I'll be up soon. After hanging up the phone, she exhaled and smiled awkwardly. Have we been here for a long time? I fell asleep. I was drunk. I didn't do anything strange, right? No, we just arrived. Bailey Yun was a little disappointed. I didn't do anything strange when I was drunk, right? He raised his eyebrows and smiled. You didn't do anything strange other than wanting to become a little swan and jump on Swan Lake. Ouch, Xia Dong covered her face in shame. I'm really not suitable for drinking. It's okay. I've seen a more exaggerated side of you. Bailey Yun smiled and patted her head. She was speechless. Thank you for your comfort. I'm even sadder after hearing it. He laughed delightedly. Her mouth twitched. I'll go up first. The dinner was great. Thank you. I'll pick you up tomorrow. We'll go to the ranch together. Okay. She got out of the car and waved at him. Be careful on the road. Xia Dong walked into the house. Xia Xiaobao was waiting at the entrance in cute Pikachu pajamas. He looked cool. Mom, tell me honestly. Who was the man who sent you back downstairs? Xia Dong bent down and pinched his cheek. Children shouldn't ask so much about adult matters. He turned his face away coolly. Don't compare me to those little brats. I'm the man of our family. I have to be responsible for you. Our baby son is really amazing. Mommy is so touched. Xia Dong carried her son and rubbed her cheek against his. Xiaobao pushed her away in disdain and puffed up his cheeks. Mom, don't think that everything will be fine just because you changed the topic. You haven't answered my question yet. Is that man chasing after you? How could that be? We're just ordinary friends. Xia Dong started to have a headache. Her child was too smart, and that was a problem. Other than Uncle Shen, I won't accept any other man as my father. Xiaobao expressed his attitude seriously. Not even my biological father. Why? This was the first time Xia Dong heard her son mention his father. Because he's irresponsible. He's the one who abandoned the three of us. Xiaobao's eyes were round, and his pink face was filled with anger. Awesome novel, Song Shu 566. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.